Okay.
That was vodka.
That is this full screen. Okay. There's this weird, I don't know what it is, but there's this weird like high pitched kind of like digital noise that's going on. It's driving me nuts. I actually don't know what it is. I've never heard it before.
Is it coming from me?
No, it's coming from me. Like as soon as I plugged my mic in.
No.
I don't know. Weird. Just gonna go make some coffee.
Okay.
But right now, we'll just be live, just because.
Just getting things started.
Yeah, just get your foot in the door, in the live door, and just hang out. Oh, you know what? Because I always forget to do this. I always forget to do this. Let me change the title of the podcast.
Okay. Wait, there's so many movies called Sucker Punch. That's so funny.
Bruges. Really?
Yeah. There's two. Well, I typed it in on IMDb, and the Zack Snyder movie did not come up.
What?
There it is. Yeah. Isn't that really funny? I searched Sucker Punch, and Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch didn't actually come up, but I just typed it in again.
What other Sucker Punches are coming out?
They're not coming out. They're just out. There was one from, hold on, 2008. It's a short. Let me read the description of this. At the last party before college, Martin Finch sets out to profess his lasting love for his dream girl, Jessie Ramsey.
Okay.
Unfortunately, a date rape drug slipped mysteriously into his drink, caused him to black out, and he cannot remember what happened. Now Martin and his best friend Andy must put the pieces of the puzzle together to figure out who drugged Martin and to find out just what happened last night with Jess Ramsey.
What? I have never heard of this movie. When did this come out?
It's a short, 2008. And then this other one came out in 2003. A man who kidnaps and drugs young women and sells them to a big-time pimp to be used as sex slaves gets a spiritual awakening and realizes his wrongdoings after getting shot. Is it too late for redemption?
Yeah. Yes, it is. You're done. There's no going back from that. Also,
what being a sex trafficker? You can't.
I don't think so, man. Back from that, huh? I think you're done. Also, what's up with all these movies and drugging people? Because Sucker Punch, they get drugged all the time. Because they're in a.
That's true. That is an integral part of the movie.
Yeah.
Hold on. What? In the Zack Snyder movie?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's okay. So I can't remember exactly, but that's part of why she has all these crazy hallucinations and whatever, is because she's getting drugged all the time. Is that part of it?
A young girl institutionalized by her abusive stepfather retreats to an alternative reality as a coping strategy and envisions a plan to help her escape. Oh, so it's like a coping mechanism.
Yeah, they're also. I'm pretty sure they're getting drugged all the time too. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a cool movie. It's a cool. Like I said,
it's
it
an
makes
original.
No sense.
It's an original screenplay, huh?
It is. Mm-hmm. So he co-wrote that with somebody, but
there's
it's original.
Shibuya.
Yeah, so that's why it's not very good. But the movie itself is very good. It's kind of like 300. Like 300, plot wise, is kind of like doesn't really make any sense. You know, it's a very, very interesting.
Doesn't have to. It's just literally like we have to hold the hot gates. I mean, the Persians are coming. That's
also, this happened thousands of years ago, so it's like we don't have firsthand accounts of what happened there.
Yeah.
So
and also
there's a bunch of Persians coming to Sparta. We're going to try and stop them.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 300
and some
of us.
ugly little fucker betrayed us.
Exactly.
It's true.
Because I was mean to him. Yeah. What a movie.
My biggest problem with 300.
What's that?
The guy betrays Leonidas and the 300 because Leonidas says, "Fuck you! You can't fight with us because you can't hold a spear properly."
Yeah, you can't hold a shield. We fight as a unit, and you would not be able to. That's his whole thing. We fight as a unit, and you cannot be on equal footing with us, so it wouldn't work.
And then guess what? A few scenes later, who the fuck comes to fight with Leonidas? The Athenians, who, by his own admission, say, "Oh, the Athenians don't really know how to fight. They're just kind of brawlers, savages, but they'll do their part." Why then couldn't he have just stuck the ugly guy with the Athenians, who then come and fight later, and he doesn't need the Athenians to know how to fight as a unit because they come in and flank them from the other side? So why didn't he just say, "Okay, well, you can't fight with us, but go with the Athenians," because
or not even that
come in later.
They could have advanced as a shield wall as the phalanx and then just had him off to the side, doing his own thing.
Sure, just have his own little thing going on the far left. But I'm
Just
saying,
send
he
him
could have been
out
the backup.
first.
like, oh, we don't fight with you because you won't fight as a unit. But then they'll fight with the Athenians, who he says suck anyway. Just send him with the
Those
so
shitty
dumb.
Athenians. Sorry for any Athenians watching.
Yeah.
So
He
speaking
says
of
they're
Athens,
walking around.
men.
you know what's north of Athens? Belgium.
Bruges.
Oh,
And the
Wow.
city
Yeah.
Bruges.
What'd you say? Bruges? Is that what it's
Bruges.
called?
It's Bruges.
it's called Bruges. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was just saying Bruges because of his accent, and he was
Oh,
just
no.
pronouncing Bruges.
Bruges. So
It's definitely not Bruges. I thought it was Bruges, but I guess it's just Bruges.
Just Bruges.
Let's
I don't
see.
know. It's Belgish. So welcome to We Like This
Belgish.
podcast, everybody. We are joined by myself, Dana Waters, Ben Nickerson, and Jeremy Dallas. It's gonna be the three of us.
Did you just call
carrying
yourself
this-
Daniel Waters?
Did I? I don't think so.
Daniel Waters.
I
I,
didn't hear
I
that.
That would be a weird
swear I
name.
just heard Daniel Waters.
I hope I know my own name.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well,
I mean-
we'll check the tape.
Yeah,
but-
we'll roll that one back. I'll get back in that one
We'll
next week.
check the VCR.
Yeah, tune in next week to see if I am an idiot. So we're carrying this episode, the three of us. And so I wanted to watch this movie In Bruges.
you wanted to watch the movie entitled In Bruges.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying.
No,
that
I
you-
wanted to go to the city and watch this movie.
Yeah, for a second, I thought like you literally were like, I wanted to be in Bruges when I watched this city, and then you're gonna say something. Watch this movie.
Did you just call yourself Daniel? You just Danieled yourself, bro.
I did just Daniel myself. Anyways, tell us about that time
Rookie
you went to
mistake.
Bruges.
So I didn't go to Bruges. But this movie was actually recommended to me by my old manager when I worked retail. When I first moved to Austin, and he was going like on and on about this movie, like loved it. And so I was very wary because he was major hyping it up. He said it was his favorite movie. And so I was
Okay.
like, you know, whenever people do that, I'm like, oh my God, this movie's so good. And then he was like saying lines and stuff. And he was like, oh, then there's this part. And then he like explains the part and like all this stuff. I was like, okay, it
Oh,
sounds
no.
good, but I feel like you're just hyping it up and it's not gonna be that good. And I watched it and I was
Yeah.
actually very surprised. This is a pretty good movie. And
I liked it.
I've
It
never
was
heard of
pretty
this
good.
movie. I haven't recommended it to anybody and they say, oh, I know that movie. Like I kind of flew under the radar. So
Yeah.
it came out in 2008. It's got Brendan Gleeson
And
and Colin Farrell and Ralph Fiennes. Thanks.
Yeah, and Ralph Fiennes has a much smaller role until the third act.
Yeah, they do a very interesting thing with that, which I like. But basically, it's these two hitmen that get sent to Bruges. They normally operate out of London, but they get sent to Bruges to kind of like lay low while they wait for the heat from this last job that they messed up to kind of simmer down. But it's like a dark comedy. So I was very surprised by that. But the dialogue in this movie is fantastic. I
So
good.
love the dialogue.
It was
And
really good.
They do a really good job too of like calling back to specific parts of the movie, and everything feels very intertwined.
Yeah.
So yeah, the movie starts off with them getting off the train and arriving in Bruges. And the first thing,
Colin Farrell being an
he just
asshole about the
hates
city.
it. Yeah, and so they like even like when they're showing the title card, it's just a black screen. It says In Bruges, the movie title, and
Yep.
then Colin Farrell is just like his character's just ripping Bruges to shreds. He's like, "Oh, it's just shithole. I fucking hate it."
I
You know,
fucking
it's
hated
already
it.
going off, and they haven't even gotten there yet. It's so good, and
Brendan Gleeson's
Yeah.
like, you haven't even been off the train yet. You're already talking shit about the city. Why don't you see the city? I already know it's gonna be a shit show.
and so they like get into the city. I forget. Did they go check into the hotel first?
Yeah, they do.
They do.
Yeah, they check into the hotel. These two hitmen, and they got different rooms. But when they got there, she says, "Oh, it's one
Well,
room, but
they
it's two beds."
assumed that it was different rooms, but it
Yeah.
turns out that the person who purchased the rooms for them wouldn't like just book them in some shitty.
He's cheap.
hotel.
Mhm.
He's very
As
Yeah,
we
he's
cheap.
come
very
to
cheap.
find out, the whole reason they're in Bruges is because he's cheap.
Mhm.
Right.
So yeah, well, we should point out they're sent there because of their boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, he wants them to lie low, so they're sent there, and he pays for everything for them to stay there for 2 weeks.
Right.
And we get into it too. It's like the reason that he wanted to send them there is because he thought like when he went and visited it previously, and he's like, oh, it's such a a quaint town. Like, did you show him the swans? Did you show him the the old buildings? Did you like the old
medieval
buildings? And like
buildings.
this entire thing about making sure that Ray, who's Colin Farrell's character, the younger guy, is like happy and like comfortable. Um,
Which is a great contrast to Ray being like, "Fuck this town, I hate it."
Yeah, he just
At
wants to
every
go get
possible
drunk at the
turn.
pub. Yeah, so good. So, but they don't know why they've been sent there. They assume because they're like to lie low or whatever. But 2 weeks is a very long time for them. And so the older guy Ken is like, "Oh, we probably got sent here probably to do another job." And so they're kind of like, "Oh, okay." So it becomes a little bit more interesting for Ray, so he can like perks up, and he wants to kind of like just get out. It's being stuck in the room where they're supposed to be staying. But the first scene that we see of them going out on the town is fantastic because they go and visit that tower.
Yeah.
You get
Oh yeah.
very good look at the comedy of the movie. When he
oh my god, the fat Americans.
Yeah, when Ray's just sitting down outside of the bench.
The fucking whales.
Well, yeah, he's like, because Colin Farrell in a very Irish way is just trying to be like, you shouldn't go to the top of the tower.
Yeah, you're not
It's
gonna
a
fit
very
up there.
narrow staircase, and it's like huge fucking American guy. He's like, "What are you trying to say about me and my family?" And Colin Farrell's like, "You want me to spell it out for you?
Yeah, you guys are fucking elephants.
You're fucking elephants."
Oh, elephants, yeah.
And then the guy tries to go to fight him, and then Colin Farrell's just like dodging him. He's just like...
And then Brendan Gleeson comes down from the tower and he walks past after they have their shitty interaction. And Brendan Gleeson has no idea what's going on. He just sees like these huffing and puffing Americans and like they walk past each other and they're going up into the tower. And he's like, "Oh, you don't want to go up there? It's very narrow." And they're like, "Fuck you, asshole."
And then he turns to Colin Farrell and he's like, "What's that about?" And Colin Farrell just goes, "I have no idea."
I just really appreciate that. There's a lot of scenes with Colin Farrell where he's like clearly being a dick, but then like the straight man characters, Brendan Gleeson, and also later on with Ralph, they're the same kind of asshole. They're just like a little bit more tactful. But there's like several points where you're like, "Oh, they're the exact same kind of dick."
Yeah.
That he is. And that's one of the moments where Brendan Gleeson's like, "Well, you are kind of fat. Don't go there."
Well, we get a very interesting scene at the top of the tower where Brendan Gleeson is looking down at Ray's character and he goes,
"Bang."
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he's already kind of like resenting the fact that he has to, be there with this guy. And then Brendan Gleeson's character, Ken, is older and he actually wants to be in Bruges. Like, he's like, this is great. This is like an idyllic European town. Go out on the waterways, in a boat and like look at all the medieval buildings and the history and stuff like that. And there's even a moment where they go and visit a church, and then Brendan Gleeson's reading a pamphlet about it, and then Ray's just like, "Didn't you just fucking hate history?" And he's like, kind of like gives him this look, and he's like, "Why do you think I'm here? Like, I'm literally here to have
just
fun."
a bunch of stuff that's already happened.
Yeah,
It's just a bunch of fucking stuff that's already happened.
so
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they like but the thing is like they go out into the town and basically Colin Farrell's just bored. He's like antsy and he's like shaking around and he's like, "Let's go to the pub." And Brendan Gleeson's like, "We're not going to the pub." And so he's like, "Well, let's go look at those buildings that you like. Bet they look good at night." And so it's just an excuse to get them to go out, but they happen upon that movie set with the little person.
He's like, "They're filming midgets over there."
I know this is exactly what I mean. He's such an asshole in this movie.
The thing is like he doesn't really he doesn't really mean to be. He's just being himself, But he even like goes over there and like he sees this really like pretty girl who becomes the the female interest. And then he tries to chat her up, and he's even like trying to call them like, he's like, they fucking hate being called midgets and like all this stuff. And she's like,
Yeah, like,
he actually
that's
prefers to be called a dwarf. And he's like, "Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, nobody knows. Like,
Like,
imagine you would want to be called a dwarf and everyone's calling you a midget. You would kill yourself."
Yeah, they would give you call you names like Shortars. Of course you
Yeah.
want to kill yourself. Which is, I guess, endearing. I thought it was a really funny scene, but obviously Clemence, I think is her name. Yeah.
And she Yeah, she's really funny. She like, we're jumping ahead, but they're like, I love their date scene. Well,
Oh, that's such a good
yeah,
scene.
that date scene's so good.
It's basically the next scene. So he talks
Well,
about
not
how
quite, not
midgets-
quite. There's some setup. There's important setup for that scene. The jokes in that scene are set up.
Well, she talks about. Well, no, sorry. He just says like midgets want to kill
Fleur.
themselves.
Her name is Fleur. Where did you get?
Yeah,
Thanks,
Fleur.
Liz. Where did you get Clement?
Clemence
You know what?
Poesi is the name of the actress.
Oh, okay.
Because every time I
okay.
Clemence
paused it
Poesi.
on Prime, I saw her name. That's what it is. I saw
Okay.
Clement.
Yeah, that's the name of the actress.
Okay.
But so he basically just like talks about how little people want to kill themselves because people like him call them midgets. And
yeah,
she's like,
he just calls them
she's
midgets.
like
the
kind of
entire time.
smiles at him and like gives him like a polite laugh. And then he's like, and she's like, "What do you do?" And he's like, "I'll tell you over dinner." And she's just like, "Okay." And she literally just turns and walks away. Like 10 paces down, she like throws her card at him, and he's like, "Oh."
Oh, it's not Fleur. Wait, hold on. Liz says that's her name in Harry Potter. Oh, it is the same actress. Okay. All right. Let's.
Is that the same actress as the girl in Harry Potter? That's interesting.
Probably.
Which girl in Harry Potter?
She actually
Fleur
does look like
Delacour.
Fleur Delacour.
She plays Chloe. That's right. Her name's Chloe.
Chloe. Okay,
Chloe.
so you were close.
Clemence.
Clemence is her name. I was right.
Yeah, Clemence.
That's
yeah,
so
Clemence
funny.
Poesi as Chloe Viette. So.
Yeah. So yeah, and then basically the next day they in order for Ray to be allowed to go on his date, he has to go out and look at the sights with Ken.
Right.
And he's literally acting like a 5-year-old. It's amazing. He's like huffing and puffing and he's like kicking things around, and there's a quiet scene in a church where Ken calls him over and he just like drags his feet very loudly with his head down over to see the thing.
I love the first scene that we see of them kind of like out on the town and they're in the boat. You know, you get Ken and he's kind of like lounging back and kind of like taking in the sights, and then it pans over and you see Ray and he's just
Oh, he's cold. I love that.
He's just like sitting there freezing and just unhappy, but Ken's like, oh, it's pretty nice.
It's like that church was made in 1100. It's just, oh, was it? So good.
And then he gets, what was that? He gets mad at him for not talking about the
He
blood of Christ
doesn't
or something
want to
like
take
that.
communion,
Okay.
or something like that. He's
No,
like,
he
some-
doesn't want to.
some
There's like a
rite.
tradition inside that quiet church where you touch the vial of Christ's
Right.
blood, and he's like, and he like gives it. I love this because Ken's like so earnestly like giving this. He's like, you see that there? That's a vial of Christ's blood. Sometimes it's turned from liquid to from dried blood. You believe that? Everybody says this in times of great stress. Very big deal. I don't know. It's you know. I think I'm gonna go stand in that queue over there and touch it. That's what they do here. It's a tradition. Would you care to join me? And Colin Farrell just looks at him. He's like, "Do I have to?" He's like, "No, you don't bloody have to. It's just Christ's blood, but no, you don't have to." I love it.
And then gets mad and storms off. Yeah.
It's so good. It's just like, I love how offended he is. It's just fucking Christ's blood, dude. Like, no, I guess you don't have to do that, but it's fucking awesome. But you don't have to. Such a great like little blow up that he has at him.
Yeah.
And then we have that scene. Oh, sorry, Jer. Go ahead.
Sorry, that's right around the time that we find out what the hell happened.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
right.
point. Yeah,
That's right around the time you get the flashback and find out why the hell they're in Bruges to begin with.
Yeah, which is pretty fucking heavy, man. Like, it's a pretty dark comedy.
Yeah.
Like, there's some good funny parts, and it's like lighthearted in some areas. But then, when you finally figure out why they're there, so basically, the job that they did right before they got sent to Bruges to lay low, Ray was supposed to go and kill a priest.
Right.
They were supposed to close this hit, and so shoots the priest. The priest gets up and like tries to leave the confessional.
Confessional, yeah.
Yeah, and then he stumbles out into the main chapel, and Ray shoots him a bunch of times in the doorway, and one of those bullets went through his chest and into the head of a kid who was kneeling in the pews.
Yeah, an altar boy.
And kills him. And so and then Ray just kind of like, or Ken just kind of comes in and grabs Ray, and then they just leave the scene. But yeah, pretty rough stuff. So you kind of understand why He's not happy. And he's very antsy the entire time because
Yeah,
he
it
has no idea
explains
what's
his
going to happen.
behavior
Yeah.
immediately. You're like, oh, that's why this guy is so jittery and like, weird.
Yeah, and is kind of like looking for any excuse he can not to have to think on his own. Like that's kind of like why you realize he wants to get out and go to the pub for one to get drunk, but then also just to like he doesn't want to be able to sit and think about anything. Because anytime this character sits and thinks about things at any point in the movie, he immediately self destructs, which I think is very interesting. And anytime he's sitting on a bench, he's not having a good time.
Pretty much.
He's like sitting. He's like doing a lot of.
And you can tell he says a lot of things without thinking because he's trying not to think because he's going to devolve. So, and then we get a very important scene with Ken and Ray, and they're talking about kind of what happened, and Ken's just trying to sympathize with him. And he's like, yeah, kind of was in a similar situation with the hit, killed this guy and he was a lollipop man. He's like, you killed a lollipop man? Oh, it's terrible. And like, yeah, you came at me with a bottle. Yeah. A bottle. Lethal weapon. Yeah, that's a lethal weapon. Yeah, it's not, that's nothing against you. That's self-defense. And he's like, well, what if he came out with me with his hands? Like, you could kill someone with your bare hands. And he's like, he doesn't know fucking karate. He's like,
well, he's like a lollipop man.
Yeah, he's a lollipop
man. You don't know if he knows karate. Yeah. Did he know karate? How old was he? He was 50. What was a 50-year-old lollipop man knowing karate for?
He's like, what? He's like, the fuck is he? A Chinese lollipop man?
It's like, Jesus fuck, I'm talking about the kid and you're over here bringing up karate swinging lollipop man. Got it. Yeah, dude.
But that scene sets up the best jokes in the movie because pretty soon after that you have the date scene where he goes out with Chloe and they're sitting in that restaurant and he immediately just starts destroying it. Because he insults her. He's like, Bruges is a shithole. And she's like, Bruges is my hometown. And he's like, well, then you should know it's a shithole. You've lived here your entire life. It's like, no, it does not pull any punches. And then she's like,
next thing you're gonna do is make a joke about Belgium. He's like, I don't even know jokes about Belgium, and I wouldn't be stupid enough to tell one. Oh wait, I do know one about child abusers and murder.
Yeah, really horrible stuff.
I love that she gets up from the table to do like whatever she's doing when she's out of the room. She doesn't even say a word to him. If I was him in that moment, I would have been like, that girl's never fucking coming back.
Yeah. And he just kind of like sits there and he's just like, cool, looking around, But then the couple sitting next to them, the boyfriend starts getting pissy because Chloe kept blowing the smoke, out into the room and it kept going to their table. And so he's like, unfucking believable. And then Ray's just like, he can't sit still because of his state. And so he's just like, I'm sorry. What's fucking unbelievable? He's like, your girlfriend's sitting over there blowing smoke into my face and my girlfriend's face. I'm trying to sit here and enjoy my dinner. And Ray's like, you're sitting in the smoking section. And he's like, I don't care. And then the fight like escalates and he like gets to the point where he's making fun of the dude for like, blaming him for the Vietnam War, and the dude's like, what are you talking about?
What does the Vietnamese have to do with this? He's like, you bloody well know the Vietnamese. Do I have to explain it to you?
He brings up the Vietnamese multiple times in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
I don't know what his thing is with the Vietnamese. There's no Vietnamese people in the movie. But he brings them up a few times later in the movie when they're talking about the race war. He brings them up too.
God, and then I love that too. He's like, when the guy's like, "Are you talking to me?" When he first confronts him, and he like says, and so he repeats himself instead of just punching the guy in the face.
Yeah.
I was like, man, things escalated quickly with you.
Yeah,
like,
this dude's like extremely high strung. But
it
eventually gets to that
fucking
point.
Ridiculous. And his first instinct is, I'm gonna punch this fucker in the face.
And then his wife with the bottle.
Oh, so it gets to that point where like he just decks that dude, and then the wife comes at him with the bottle, and he's like,
at him, "This is for John Lennon."
Yo,
you fucking Yankee. And then the wife swings the bottle at him, and he's like, "Bottle?" And he throws.
Well, that's such a good callback to the joke, like they're talking about the bottle and like he's like, well, you shot the guy in self-defense, and then this wife later at this dinner is like swinging a bottle at him and he's like, and then just like throat punches her as like a reflex and drops her. Oh my god, it's so good.
And freaking Chloe comes back out of the bathroom and sees the carnage, and he's just like, "Let's go,
get out of here."
And then he uses Ken's defense of Ken to defend himself when he's talking to Chloe, which I thought was pretty funny too. He was like, generally I don't punch women, but she's coming at me with the bottle.
I'm gonna hit a woman. What are you gonna do? She's coming out with me a bottle. That's a lethal weapon, you know. And he's like, "Oh, you've gone off me because of the bottle thing."
And she loves it.
Yeah,
apparently.
He's like so into it.
Yeah,
like she sees what a mess he just made. And then he hears his defense for why he knocked that lady out, and she's like, "Oh my god, you're so hot."
I know. And he's like, "Oh," and then she like kisses him, and they head back to her place. But right at the same time, while he's out, Brendan Gleeson gets a call from Harry, from Ralph Fiennes' character.
Oh, I love that scene.
It's so funny because the whole time you don't actually know why they're in Bruges. You think they're laying low. And Harry keeps saying, like, "You better be back so that I can call you. So, like, be around." And so when Brendan Gleeson answered the phone, he's like, "Hey, you there?" And he's like, yeah, I'm here." And he's like, Is Ray there with you?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's in the bathroom." He's like, "Fuck. Okay. I don't want him to be there. You got to get him to leave. Tell him to leave for, like, 30 minutes. And so then Brendan Gleeson goes through this whole act of, like, "Okay, hey, you should go to the pub." Yeah, no, I know I said no earlier, but go to the pub.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of that in like School of Rock, and Jack Black is on the phone, and they're like, "Is Ned there?" And he's like, "It's about a paying gig," and he's like, "Oh, you know what? I think he just walked in." It's like, "Ned, phone." That whole scene, it reminded me a lot of that. I thought that was pretty funny.
I love that scene because like Brendan Gleeson is setting this all up. He's like, because Ray is technically supposed to be there because Harry wanted them to be there, but Ray's on this date, and so Ken's like trying to cover for him basically, and then Harry tells Ken to get rid of him, and he puts on like Ben was saying, this entire charade, just like, oh, there he goes, like walks over, like opens the door and slams it, so it sounds so Harry thinks that he like actually left, and then he's like, oh, is he really gone? And he's like, oh, and like puts the phone back down, pretends to check outside, comes back to it, and then he's like, so what'd you tell him? And like Harry didn't hear anything. That like I think it was like a minute and a half that Ken is trying to like set up this fake scene where Ray leaves, and then Harry doesn't even hear any of it because the phone's super shitty, and so he just basically tells him like, oh, told him to leave. It's just and he gets annoyed that he just wasted all this time.
It's so good. It's such a perfect like little thing, and it also sets up the tension between the two characters, because you can tell there's not mutual respect there, since Ken is clearly willing to lie to his boss.
Yeah.
And in order to cover for Ray specifically, and then he has to like go through this whole charade, but he goes along with it. So it's actually, from a filmmaker's perspective, that would be a microcosm of events that paint the picture of the whole story. But yeah, just a clever little scene that was really funny, and it's hard to have that kind of humor. I think is tough to pull off, but they did a really good job with it.
It's very it's very, it kind of reminds me of the humor that's in Scott Pilgrim in a way, because it's all based on like the movie creates inside jokes for itself almost, and it calls back to those inside jokes throughout the rest of the movie. And Scott Pilgrim does that really, really well. Or even in the same scene, there's a lot of really good jokes, and so In Bruges has that same kind of humor where a lot of the humor is in the same scene, and it wraps itself up really nicely while also calling back to other funny parts.
Right. So. Yeah. It's kind of, it's funny. It's like, I like this movie a lot for the same reason that I liked Nice Guys. Because I feel like Nice Guys does a lot of that too. They make their own inside jokes that get called back later in the movie. That's like my favorite.
You're a fucking detective that can't smell? Jesus Christ.
Like that's like my favorite kind of like dry humor in dialogue, and Lebowski does a lot of it too. It's one of my favorite movies. Lebowski's really good at doing that kind of stuff too. Another movie that this reminded me of was Snatch. Did you ever see Snatch? The Guy Ritchie
I don't
film?
think so. Oh, the fighting movie. It's got
Yes, it's got
fucking
Brad Pitt. It's
Yeah.
got a young Jason Statham
Yeah,
in a
yeah, yeah,
comedic
yeah.
role. It's got a lot of that same and that's also British, like British humor.
That's a
Like that
very
kind of Guy
very
Ritchie sort of quick-witted humor. It's not quite as like fast-paced as a Guy Ritchie movie, but again, it has that same sort of like feel to it with the callbacks from earlier in the movie. Sort of
Yeah.
like that's a good way of putting it. Like
Yeah.
creating inside jokes for itself
Yeah,
that are just funny and they pay off like hilariously.
Yeah.
They do a really good job of creating that like sense of everything is interconnected. I feel like this is something that's really hard for a lot of movies to do, but In Bruges has a really successful effort at making this quaint little town of Bruges kind of feel alive. And like I think one of the things that lends it to that is just like the interconnectivity of everything. People run into each other constantly, like way too coincidentally for a typical film, but because of like the nature of this one, it really works because it kind of sells that like everybody's doing their own thing, and we introduce like plenty of characters, but they're all interconnecting like in each other's lives constantly. So I always really like stuff like that, just in terms of making kind of the world feel a little bit more active. Like the little man isn't just like waiting somewhere until it's like until he like needs to be in the scene. It's like he just like is doing something and like runs into the character over and over again. And sometimes it's literally just in passing. It's just like, oh, there he is going off to do something
on
that
ketamine.
Where he needs
and doesn't wave to the character, and then the character calls him a cunt.
Yeah. But yeah, so then we get that's a great scene. We get the basically the plot of the movie out of Harry's mouth, where he's like, okay, so basically, Ken, you need to kill him because he killed a kid. And we sent him to Bruges because I loved Bruges. I went to Bruges when I was 7. I love that like little last time I was there, I was 7. I fucking loved it. It was like a fairy tale. And it's like completely earnest, but as like just thinking about the concept, you sent a guy to a place that you really enjoyed when you were 7 so that he could enjoy something before
until
he
gets killed. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like technically that's a nice-ish thing to do, but like it's so not thoughtful that it's almost more insulting.
It's kind of like when your boss thinks that they know you and tries to get you a nice gift, and you're just like,
right.
Oh,
and they give you a silver dollar.
Something, several silver dollars because you said you collected quarters when you were 5 years old with your grandparents.
Wow.
And then I still have them, dude. Look at.
I took them with me to Texas.
Yeah, they're right here.
Wait, you just have it within grabbing distance?
I just grabbed it.
That's amazing. I didn't expect you to just have that on you.
Hold on. I don't know where maybe I got rid of
our audience.
Put it up to the camera. It should be in a little case, right?
Yeah, it was he got me and a couple other people this case.
Just put it up to the camera. You don't need to take it.
Did you get a
I don't know where it is.
Silver dollar too, Ben?
This
I also got a silver dollar, yes.
This is is a silver 50 cent.
Oh, it's a 50 cent. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no. Is this a dollar? Jesus. Oh no. Sorry. This is a silver dollar. This is a silver dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Silver dollar. And then I have a couple of silver quarters. This is all from that one boss who thought, I needed these for whatever reason. This is my knickknacks.
So it basically Harry sending him to Bruges was an awful lot like a boss buying you and several of your coworkers silver dollars for Christmas.
Exactly.
And it's funny too because earlier before you know that. Oh,
it's got its own like little
there it is
plastic case.
Wow, you put it in a dime bag. That's cool.
No, he gave it to me in a dime bag.
Oh, that's even better. Are you gonna smoke that later?
Yeah, dude. Put that in my pipe and smoke it.
And look, it flips open. See, it's not like one of those little snap buttons. He ain't fucking around. This is actually in really good condition. I wonder how much does this go for? I mean,
is it in mint condition?
It tastes like it. I don't know. This feels pretty fake right now.
Oh, does it?
Oh no, that's real. Okay, it's very light.
Well, it's silver.
I don't even know what this is.
It's
it's another silver dollar. Okay. So see, I don't deserve these. I don't deserve to have these. You know,
Well,
Did
I
you
didn't
collect
need these.
quarters when you were
Christmas gift.
5? Come on.
If I was
Oh,
5
man.
years old and he gave this to me, I would have loved it, and then he probably wouldn't have been arrested. Yeah, I think I know I have it. It's somewhere else, but yeah. Anyways, we're getting way off track.
But it
Yeah.
explains why before, like when what's his name, Ken is like, yeah, I'm not sure if Ray's really liking it too much. He's so pissed off because he's a
What the fuck you
butthurt.
mean he's not really
Mhm.
into it?
He's this butthurt boss who was trying. I was trying to do something nice by sending him to Bruges.
I love how they have that scene though, where he's like, "What do you mean? It's not his cup of tea." You know, and
He's
they
like,
go into this
"What
big
the
old
fuck?"
thing,
He's
and then
like,
Ken's like, "No. He didn't like it when he got off the train, but then he saw the medieval buildings, and he saw. Did you show him the swans? He's like, oh, he loved the swans. You know, like all this stuff. And
You
he's
know
like,
what he
good.
said to me? He said, "This city,
Oh, yeah.
it feels like I'm in a dream."
and he's like,
really? He said
in
that?
a dream, like in a good way.
Like a good dream. I
Good
love
dream?
that.
It's like, yes,
Good
in a
dream.
good way.
Okay, good, because he wasn't a bad kid. And then Ken's like, "What?
Wasn't.
Well, he wasn't a bad kid."
Yeah.
Ken's like, "Wasn't?" It's like, "Yeah. Well, I mean, we can't just let it go." And then it's like, "Oh."
Yeah, he's like, all right, yeah, great. I'm so glad that he loves it. Now we need to kill him. And
He's like, "Good. If he didn't love it, I would have sent him to the Bahamas and then had you kill him." But
Well,
God.
I like that the way that scene's written too, because it goes on for such a long time, and it's kind of like jokey. It's very very jokey.
Yeah.
And you get really good insight into Harry's character, because the only thing that you know about Harry is that he gave a message to the receptionist at this little bed and breakfast.
she's not the
It says, like-
receptionist, Danon.
Okay, she's the
co-owner
owner. Sorry, the
with her
owner.
husband. She wrote that
My bad.
on the card because Harry is a dick.
My bad.
A cock.
He's a cock.
actually.
Yeah.
A cock.
He's-
That's right.
She calls him a cock. But he this message that he gives her is just like expletive laden. Like it's every other word is fucking. And it's like it's so funny.
Why the fuck
Oh,
aren't you
man.
there? You better fucking answer the phone tonight. There'll be fucking hell to pay. And she's like
Mhm.
typing this all out or something on the nice like poster paper. Why the fuck are
It's
you
like a
staying at a
postcard.
hotel where I gotta talk to the receptionist? This is fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Be there
Yeah.
tonight or else.
Mhm.
And then she writes on the fucking thing, "I'm not the receptionist."
And then you have this phone call with him, and then he's just cussing again, like being very, very short, but he's trying to come across as like a nice guy basically. But that scene goes on for so long. It's a few minutes of Ken just trying to like save Ray's ass here,
Yeah.
And then it ends very, very abruptly. Like when it gets to the part where Harry tells Ken to kill Ray, it's like 20 seconds. And then
Well,
the
yeah,
scene ends.
Ken's like,
It's-
"What?" And he's like, "You know what? Like, are you being daft?" I think he says. And
Yeah. Are you
Ken's
daft?
like,
and then
yeah.
it's like,
It's like, "No, I
9
bloody
o'clock
well
tomorrow.
understand." Yeah.
Yeah,
And
9
then the
o'clock
guy's
tomorrow.
like,
there's a
"Don't
guy
get." I
Yuri."
love that.
Mhm.
"Don't get shirty with me."
Yeah. And he also is like, look, you brought him in and he fucked up and he killed a kid.
Oh yeah, where does the buck
Mm.
end?
And he's
if
like,
it doesn't
if-
end with Ray.
Yeah, and he implying like you can kill him or you can both die.
Right.
Like if it's not his responsibility, then I guess it's yours, basically. So you better go fucking handle that.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like a really, after having that stupid, silly dialogue, he's like, well, he's so like kind of just tongue in cheek is like, well, you can kill him or I can kill you. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he's like, "Call me after it's done."
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it.
Or-
And, that's like 20 seconds to
Yeah.
wrap up that like 3-minute long phone call,
Yeah.
It's the turn that it takes is so like 180 and
So
then
drastic, yeah.
ends so quickly. And it's good. Like it really kind of packs a punch and like sends that message home a lot stronger. So I really like that scene. I think it's
Yeah, and then we so that scene was really good, and it leads directly into my favorite scene of the movie, which is
is this the one at the pub
no,
or before
it's-
that when they're on the
It's
date?
before
Okay.
that. It's when Ray is hooking up with Chloe. Like they're
Yeah.
like starting to get it on, and then Chloe's like, "Oh, it's my boyfriend," and he's like, "What?" And he like turns around. He's got a gun to his head, and they like Ray's just like, "So I didn't know she had a boyfriend, man. Like, what the fuck? Get your gun out of my face!" And then
Yeah.
the boyfriend like hesitates for a second, and Ray very easily takes the gun away from him and points it at him. And the boyfriend pulls out a knife, and Ray looks at his gun. He's like, "Don't think that's gonna help you." And then Chloe's like, "No, it's got blanks in it." And he's like, "The fuck do you know it's got blanks in it?" And he shoots out the window, and it doesn't work. And he's like, "Well, this fucking sucks." Then the boyfriend like tries to rush him, and he shoots the boyfriend in the face anyways, and it blinds him. And the boyfriend's like, "Ah, my fucking eyes! I can't believe this is happening." And Ray's just like, "Well, of course you're fucking blind. I just shot you in the face with a blank."
And he's just sitting there on the bed, and he's like, "I knew it. I knew this was too good to be true.
I knew you wouldn't fuck me." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, he says like, "I knew a girl like you wouldn't fuck me." And she's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "A nice girl." And she's like, "Oh,
like, oh, so sweet." Yeah.
But it was really funny because she's like, he's like, "Why the fuck is your skinhead boyfriend here trying to rob me?" And she's like, "Oh, it's just something we do to trap tourists sometimes. But I told him no this time." And he's like, "Fuck you." Told him no this time. That's why you knew the gun had blanks in it.
Yeah. I
like,
guess that was all a little bit suspicious.
It was extreme. Like, she clearly, especially after how that date went too, I am convinced that she actually was going to rob him.
Mm-hmm. And the whole, I didn't like that, like even her reaction was fake. Like that's all part of the routine.
No, it's not. It's not because she leaves. No, she leaves. Remember when she kisses him when they're outside of the restaurant? She goes to make a phone call. She calls off the boyfriend because she tells him later, and she's like, he's not supposed to be here. I called him and told him not to come. So yeah, he wasn't supposed to be there. And so
gotcha.
I think her reaction the entire time is like she is very surprised when. I mean, the first thing we see is like this gun to the back of Ray's head, you know, when they're in the bed. Yeah. And then she sees him first and she's like, "Oh shit. Like ex-boyfriend's here, you know, with the gun." He wasn't supposed to be here. So I don't think so.
But then that means that she literally had a change of heart about 10 minutes before they were going to do it.
Oh yeah. No, 100%. Like she went on the date to rob this dude. That's why she stayed.
I think and I think
like if she was a regular girl, she would have left as soon as he insulted her and then beat the shit out of these two people.
Yeah, but I think that's why she called it off because he he knocked out this married couple, and then he's like, "Let's get the fuck out of here." And she was like,
"He did tell her very candidly that he was a hitman."
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I guess it was meant to be tongue in cheek, but he does tell her the truth, but it seems like
and there is such a biting moment. Just like really, there's a really quick little gut punch that they put into that scene where he's being tongue in cheek about it. Like he's like, "What I do is so ridiculous. If I'm totally brutally honest about it, then it's gonna be fine." And he's like, "Yeah, I kill people for money. You know, priests, children, whatever." And she's like, "Oh, you kill people for money, huh?" He's like, "Well, priests, not children." And she's like, and then he's like, "Do I look like somebody that shoots people?" And she's like, "Not somebody that shoots priests, but maybe somebody who shoots children." And he's like,
then he takes a big gulp of wine.
Yeah, and it's like, really fucking just
But what's funny is they're both telling the truth and they're both playing it off like they're joking. He's like, "Yeah, I'm a hitman and I shoot people," and she's like, "Oh right, yeah, and I'm a drug dealer."
Yeah, I sell drugs to people on that movie set.
Drug dealer and he's a hitman.
It's really great dialogue there. But either way, he very easily blinds this boyfriend. I love that just moment. And then
he rants about skinheads. He's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you skinheads? Used to be that you just go around, you know, like beating up 12-year-old Pakistanis, and now every fucking skinhead's got to be walking around with a gun."
Yeah, I love you. Fucking poof.
Goes off on this tirade about skinheads.
Keeps calling him a poof. Everybody in the fucking movie calls this skinhead a poof. It's so funny.
What is that?
It's a derogatory term for gay people.
Oh, okay.
But he also just calls him gay at some point too.
Yeah, several times. Yeah. I think Harry does too when he gets to
poof. Harry immediately also calls him a poof because he's like, when he explains what happens, we'll get to that scene too, but it's kind of your fault scene. It's really great.
Like, you did that one to yourself.
Yeah.
But Yeah, so then she's like, no, I'm gonna take him to the hospital. You stay here, and then like I promise, like I'm not trying to, like I really am actually interested in you. And he's like, yeah, whatever. He like steals all of her drugs and leaves, and he
Yeah.
finds Ken at the pub. And,
Who's just drowning his sorrows because he got instructions to kill Ray. So he's at the pub in his fourth beer.
yeah, he's at his,
Yeah.
his fourth beer, and then the little person comes back into the movie with a hooker. I wonder if there are lies in the movie, but yeah, like all these interactions of just like pure absurdity
get
are
my
all
coffee.
told so
Very truthfully.
very truthfully.
Yeah. And like there's even that part where like the hooker leaves to go upstairs, and Brendan Gleeson's like, your girlfriend's very pretty, and the little person is just like, it's not my girlfriend, she's a hooker. Just like,
yeah, that's a hooker.
Straight up. And then Brendan Gleeson's like, oh well, the hooker's very, very pretty. He's like, thank you. It's just so like genuine. I don't know.
Like,
it's
I didn't know that there were hookers in here. In this,
it's not
city.
genuine.
He's like, you just got to know where to look.
In
like
a brothel. Yeah.
It's a pretty good place. He's like, oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that sarcasm is so good. But I love when Ray comes back and he's just blitzed on cocaine.
Oh my god, that's right.
Yeah, and then Brendan Gleeson's
I've got 1 gram of it in me and 4 grams in my pocket.
I don't think they ever mention it, but Brendan Gleeson's character does say at this point, he says, or he wants a gram, and Ray's like,
yeah,
I thought this made you depressed, and I don't know, it's a little thing that just kind of like says that these people have talked to each other a lot more than it lets on. Really, they're not just
like
coworkers.
Yeah, they're closer than that. I mean,
yeah.
There's a lot of little things that indicate that they have a deeper relationship than that they didn't just meet on the plane to Bruges.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, they were both there at that job that Ray fucked up.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's revealed later on, but like they just have a much deeper connection, which you probably wouldn't actually immediately realize at the very beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. When Ray is shitting all over the city and Ken is like totally loving it and really annoyed at Ray's behavior.
Wait, there's also that scene right before Ray goes out on the date, and he's like, figuring out like top button open or closed, open, closed, you know, and he's kind of like checking himself out, and he's just kind of like looking at himself, just kind of like down. But Brendan Gleeson's he's like looking at him and like sees him trying to like check himself out and like try to like make himself look nice, and he kind of like smirks to himself, and he's just like, like I know you would as a friend who's like nervous about going out on a date, and you're just like, be fine,
Oh yeah, he gives him like a look of he gives him like an approving nod, and he's like, nice.
Yeah, so it's cool. Yeah. It's cool little non-spoken little asides basically by these characters that shows that they have a lot of respect for each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so like the betrayal that happens later on in the movie, not of each other, but like against Harry, isn't so out of the blue, Right. And so when he gets that call, you're like, oh, he's not gonna do it. Like, there's no doubt in your mind where he's just like, oh no, he's gonna let Ray go or help him out or something like that. So
it feels like that just it has to be that way. Like, there's no like, is he really gonna do it, or like, is this gonna turn into like a shootout between friends, or like, where is the direction of this movie gonna go?
Yeah.
And so they have that they basically Ray goes and talks to the little person and the prostitute. I love his interaction with him is almost better because the little person says the exact same lines to Ray. He's like, "You're from America, aren't you?"
Well, not even just that bit. He fucking walks over there and pokes him in the head.
Oh, wow.
While he's making out with the prostitute. He's just like poking him in the head to try to get his attention.
And I love that. And he's like, and they both look at him like, what the fuck? And then he's like, he starts talking. Oh, this is where he's like, I waved at you. Why didn't you wave at me? He's like, I was on a lot of ketamine. And you're like, oh, he was on a lot of ketamine. That's
another callback.
That's another callback.
He's like, I was on a bunch of horse tranquilizer.
I wouldn't have said hi to anybody. Well, maybe a horse.
Maybe a horse, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, oh, I'm just bullshitting. He's like, what's your deal? She's like, and she's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, you look like a fucking hooker. What are you, straight out of Amsterdam? All the hookers in Amsterdam. And she's like, well, that's why I moved here. I figured I feel like I could sell my pussy for a higher price. And he looks at her, and he looks back at the little person. He's like, you guys are fucking weird.
And then immediately offers them drugs.
He's like, you guys are fucking weird. let's go do some drugs.
Yeah.
You want some coke? Oh, Jimmy. That's the name of the little person. Jimmy.
Mm.
And he's freaking God, dude. So they go and do coke, and they get another hooker on the way. And they're all hanging out, and then Jimmy goes on this like racist tirade about like how there's going to be a race war between black people and white people, and then
Yeah. Well,
Colin
before
Farrell,
that, there's a quick little callback to what he was
Oh,
saying
Oh,
earlier to
yeah.
the lady. He's like, so like while he's cutting the coke, doing like lining up the lines, he's like, so you ever think about killing yourself? And he's like,
because you're a midget.
what? What? And he's like, because you're a midget.
Yeah. And Jimmy's like, what kind of fucking question is that?
He storms off, and then Colin Farrell just goes, huh? Like, he's yeah, and then the race war thing.
Yeah,
that was a very strange thing, but I love that scene because it's like it shows how quickly and easily you can just dismantle that entire argument with one or two questions. Because immediately they start tearing it apart. They're like, well, I'm not fighting for the white people. I'm gonna go join the black people. And Jimmy's like, you can't though. You're white. Like that's your side. And then Brendan Gleeson's like, well, what about me? My wife is black and she was killed by a white man. And he's like, well, I guess you're just gonna have to do some soul searching, man, and figure it out on your own. And it's like,
which is,
you can't. That argument is so ridiculous.
It was actually it's great because obviously Jimmy is clearly in the wrong, and at least our main character hitmen who are not good people understand this much, that racism is stupid. And
Ray isn't even like necessarily agreeing with either one. He's just like, he's curious. He's like,
what about the Vietnamese?
What about the Vietnamese?
And then
Blacks.
Jimmy's like, the blacks.
Obviously.
Yeah. And then Ray's like, well, then no way in hell I'm going to be in the whites team. I'm going to go join the blacks.
Why would I
if they get the
whites?
Vietnamese.
I'm gonna go. They got the Vietnamese. Those fuckers know how to fight.
Yeah. Karate.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. And then
so Brendan Gleeson gets pissed off though. Like,
well, Brendan Gleeson gets he's like, whatever, racist little person, like, I've had enough for tonight. But also we learned that Harry killed the guy who killed Brendan Gleeson's wife.
Mm-hmm. So they're indebted.
Yeah, so he's indebted to Harry, and so him turning down the job to kill Colin Farrell or to kill Ray is not going to be quite as easy as you might hope, as an audience member. But yeah, Brendan's like, all right, I've had enough. This is a bit too much. I'm gonna go home. And Colin Farrell's like, yeah, I'm right there with you. I'll go too. And then the Jimmy, what does Jimmy do to try to?
Well, he's trying to get the coke.
He tries to grab the
Colin
rest
Farrell
of the coke.
slaps his hand.
See how you gonna slap my hand? He's like,
and then he fucking karate chops.
Yeah, I love. God, that scene is that's such a really great. It feels It feels like improvised almost.
It does feel improv. Even the way he does it, it just seems like it comes out of fucking nowhere because he gets in the karate stance first. He's like, "What the fuck, man?" And Colin Farrell's like, "Wait, fight!"
Yeah. And he karate chops him. The guy falls to the floor. He's like, "Ah!" And then both of them, but out of sync, say, "You had that coming."
Yeah.
Which is really great because Colin, like, oh God,
Don't act like you didn't have that one coming, mate. Or something. He says something like that.
Yeah, exactly. They say it word for word the exact same way, and it really feels improvised because of just like how
it might have been. Honestly,
I was actually thinking. I was wondering if they got confused on the lines. I was watching it today before we went on, and I literally thought that. I was like, I wonder if they got in the moment. They got confused of who was supposed to say that line, and they both said it, but.
It just was
hilarious.
Yeah. So it also like really made the bond between them feel even stronger, right? This is one of those moments where they're both the same kind of people.
Yeah, and exactly. Yes. And I'm like, that would be so hard to orchestrate, saying the same line at different times, that's why it seems like either improv or they just messed up and they decided to keep that take.
Very organic. Yeah. Either way, it did feel very organic, the delivery of that particular line. But then, Brendan Gleeson wakes up early to go get the gun from Yuri.
And Yuri is already a great character too.
Yuri's great.
Funny. I love how they write the characters in this movie.
They threw me for a little bit of a loop because Ken wakes up early, goes to leave, and then Ray wakes up right after that, and he's got tears streaming down his eyes. And for a minute there, I was like, "Oh, does he know?" And so I
Me
thought,
too.
and I was thinking at that point, I was like, "Oh, has he known for a while now? Like, how long has he actually known this?" But that's actually kind of I don't know if they meant to mislead you intentionally or whatever, but that was a good little juke.
Yeah, watching this, this is my third time watching the movie, and seeing that scene and seeing him cry, just kind of like, it's just like anytime that character has time to himself, to think, he's
he's just sad.
He's not doing.
He's clearly,
which again just shows that.
Yeah, he's clearly depressed because he honestly does believe that Chloe could not be interested in him, and he's already a worthless sack of shit because he killed a kid. And so just having one more bad night or bad experience on top of that, I think was pushing him over the edge in retrospect. But meanwhile, Ken is dealing with his own problem because he goes to talk to Yuri to get the gun. And it's just like a Beretta with a silencer, but then Yuri's like, what's the park, like Anglin Park or something like that?
I don't know. It's but Yuri's the guns dealer, the arms dealer in Belgium.
Yeah.
And so he's giving this gun to Ken so he can kill Ray. But I love his character because he's like fascinated about English words, and so he's like, you can just go hide in an alcove. Use this word, right? Alcoves? Yeah,
alcoves.
He's like,
the word alcoves. He's like,
I use it sometimes. Yeah.
Like, you sure you understand the word alcove?
Yeah, and he's
it's like nooks and crannies. He's like
nooks and crannies.
Oh, that'd be a much better way. And Ken's like, I'm just here to I gotta kill my friend in a minute. He's just talking about fucking alcoves. And so then he leaves. He goes back to the hotel. He's gonna go kill Ray. But then the hotelier is like, "Oh, your fucking friend's being weird today. He gave me all the money in his wallet and then just left. I felt bad not being gracious, but I don't want his money."
Yes. This was another reason that I thought he knew. I thought up until that point, I thought he knew, and he was actually going to the park to stage a counter ambush. I thought
no. This was for me. That was a very clear sign that he was going to kill himself, because that's the telltale sign in pop culture is if somebody gives away all of their belongings, they're probably planning to kill themselves.
But I thought the way I saw it is like, oh, he's probably going to die in this exchange. Like, he thought there's a good chance I'm going to die, but I'm going to go out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
He thought I'm about to go and try and kill this guy and stage a counter ambush, and I might die. So here's the money, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
So, so we get a great scene because Ken goes to the park. He's standing inside a little, what are those things called with the
starts with a B?
Gazebo?
No, it starts with a G.
Gazebo is a gazebo.
There you go.
He's standing in the gazebo. He's putting the silencer on the gun, and then the tension is building. The music is swelling. He's walking across the park. It's this long, slow scene from the angle of the gun. It's that low, steady cam angle. And as soon as he's about to get up and pull the trigger, fucking Ray puts a gun to his own head. And Ken's like, "What are you doing? Stop!"
Yes. I was so genius the way they did that. As he's about to blast him.
I'm convinced that this movie was made specifically because one day at coffee or beers, somebody's like, "Wouldn't it be funny if there was a Hitman movie where one hitman had to kill the other hitman, but that hitman was depressed and wanted to kill himself, and they just had to reconcile with the absurdity of that?"
It's a great idea.
It is such a
really
good
funny
idea. And that scene was executed so well too. And fucking Colin Farrell's like, "You're gonna blow my head off?" He's like, "You're gonna blow your own head off." Like, "Well, I'm allowed to." No, you're fucking not.
And then he's like, "Is there somewhere we can go and talk about this?"
Well, this is actually based on a play.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm. Oh. Not completely, but it takes a very, very base level ideas from a play. It's called The Dumbwaiter, where it's the same idea. Ben, you actually hit it on the head here. So it's I'm reading it on Wikipedia. So it's two hitmen, Ben and Gus, are waiting in a basement for the next assignment, and then they basically get assigned to each other. It's
okay.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, same thing.
Yeah.
So
it's the last mission in
Spy versus
Splinter
Spy.
Cell.
yeah, where you have to, this is all over the place in spy plots,
What's
and
that?
stories
What's
and stuff.
that prison movie where it's the cop and the prisoner, but the cop is actually fakes being a prisoner, and then the prisoners escape from prison together so they can find the batter guy, and then they kill the batter guy, but then the cop reveals himself to have been a cop the whole time. So then the former prisoner runs away, and then they have a shoot off at the end. It's like that.
Signs?
Signs.
I have
You
no
got
idea.
signs
the one.
I have no idea.
It sounds like you're talking about the show Prison Break.
Is that what happens in the show Prison Break?
That kind of.
Probably.
Interesting. No, this is a video. It's a co-op video game. It's like
I thought you were talking about
said it was a movie.
Yeah, you
I
said it was
said
a
co-op
movie.
video game for sure.
I think you just
Yeah,
Danieled yourself.
I don't know, you might have pulled a
Check the
Daniel there,
Yeah,
dude.
check the
Check
tape.
the fucking tape. All
Tune
right?
in next week to see if Ben's an idiot.
We're all idiots.
We're all
here.
idiots here.
I haven't outed myself quite yet. On this
Oh,
podcast.
it's coming. It's coming,
Yeah,
motherfucker. You better wait.
Mark your words, my friend.
yeah.
Mark your own words. But so they go and they sit down, and Ken takes his gun from him and like puts it in his trench coat. He's like, I'm keeping it. And Colin Farrell's just lamenting about the world. He's like, I can't believe it. I got fucking held up at gunpoint by a woman I was trying to have sex with, and now my best friend nicks my gun.
Mhm.
Oh man.
And he's like, why can't I have it back? And he's like, you're suicidal. And he's like,
Yeah.
give me my gun back. He tries to wrestle for it. Like, so they're so childish. Like, they're friends.
They are very
you know?
Mhm.
they
I
are
really
very
like
childish
their
with each other.
dynamic a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very enduring in the show.
Yeah, because you
Mm.
definitely get it's not like one. I like this better than Nice Guys. You guys mentioned earlier, like it was very similar, but I like their dynamic better than Nice Guys because in Nice Guys they kind of like hated each other. There was like
They
this,
didn't like each other.
They
That was
they
really not.
really didn't
yeah,
like
I-
each other.
They're
No.
not
Charm-
actually friends until the end of that movie.
Yeah,
yeah, their charm was actually the like dislike of each other they had, whereas this
Yeah.
one they were very charming because they were friends.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
like this better because they bicker like friends and they put up with each other like friends do. And it kind of like I don't know, it feels a little bit more real. And it also
It
like.
feels- yeah.
They do have history together before this movie, and so it's easy to see that and the way that they play off of each other and stuff. So
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I just like that relationship better than Nice Guys. So
And so yeah, Ken is like, you're getting on a train, you're leaving Bruges, and Ray is just like, well, what are you gonna do about Harry? And Ken's just like, I'll worry about Harry. You just get the fuck out of town. And so I love the friggin' scene where Ken calls Harry is amazing. It's like it's so perfect. He calls him up. He's like, you hear that? It's the sound of a train, motherfucker. Your boy Ray is on it. I ain't killing him. Fuck you. You got to do what you got to do. I don't care. Come get me. I'll be waiting. And then
Yeah,
hangs
I was
up.
shocked.
Mhm.
I actually,
Yeah,
I said out loud, I was like, wow, the balls on this guy.
Right.
like, I
he was gonna
didn't-
fucking be
I thought
dead
he was gonna-
if he did that.
Yeah, and I thought he was going to lie for sure.
Yeah, just lie
Because he's
about
been
it, man.
lying to this guy the whole movie anyway.
Hmm.
I thought for sure he'd be like, yeah, I killed him. He's dead. Whatever.
Yeah, his body
But
is in the river.
Is in the
so-
alcove,
Yeah, it's in the alcove.
it's in the nooks and crannies.
But instead, they pull a fast one on you, and he's like, yeah, you hear that train? Yeah, I'll let him go. I'm not going to kill him. Fuck you. I'm at the hotel. You can come find me. That's it.
Mhm.
Oh, and
I'm
then he's
staying
like,
in Bruges I'm staying in Bruges because it's a fucking fairy tale town.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
he hangs the phone up, and I was like, oh, damn. Like,
And then we finally
was a
see
ballsy
Ralph
move.
Fiennes in person.
Yeah,
And he's
which is great. And
fuming.
I actually checked the timestamp. It was an hour and 6 minutes into the movie. You finally meet the antagonist.
In a 106
Mhm.
minute movie. That's really funny.
No, it's
Yeah.
106 minutes into like an hour and 40-minute movie. So there's not much time left,
right.
So I thought that was really
No,
interesting how they.
it's-
Huh?
It's an
You only
hour
heard his
and
voice.
6 minutes into a 106 minute movie.
Oh, yes.
Uh,
All right, my bad.
An hour and 40-minute movie. I wonder how long that is in minutes.
I wonder if it's 100 hour and 6.
Uh, so
Tune in now to see if I'm an idiot.
the
check the
Daniels keep
tape.
coming.
Mm.
But yeah, that scene where it introduces Ralph Fiennes' character,
so good.
who's like straight out of Step Brothers or something. It's like smashing the phone over and over again, and he like picks it up, and it's like slapstick comedy because he can't get a good handle on the phone. It's like hitting it. The wife comes in. She's like, "It's a fucking inanimate object." It's like, "You're a fucking inanimate object, Marie."
I wrote that down because I have heard that line a lot.
I have too.
Really?
Yeah.
I have heard that line a lot. You're an inanimate fucking object. I've heard it quoted, and I've actually seen just that one clip. I've seen that clip played before.
Oh, really?
From Ralph Fiennes, yes. Like, okay, you know when you watch YouTube videos or whatever, and if an editor is really clever, he'll throw in random like you know, clips from movies like that are quotes to kind of help bring
Dan,
home.
and this is where you
point.
cut in a clip from a movie so that it's like a.
I can't. This is live. What do you mean?
Just
We're live.
run the tape, Dana. Just run the tape. Come on. I keep telling you to be prepared for these kinds of things. But anyways, yeah.
Well, anyway, yeah.
I have silver dollars. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
You did have silver
In reaching distance. Unplanned.
In grabbing distance.
That was not scripted. I don't know how he just had those ready to go.
They're right.
Oh yeah, by the way.
They're right there. These inanimate fucking objects, dude. I'm telling you.
That I hate too.
Yeah.
My boss gave these stupid fucking things to me.
I don't
have no
hate
respect
them.
for them whatsoever.
I was gonna
but
say,
I'm gonna have them
yeah.
right
There's
there.
no
I still
reason to
have
hate
them.
these things.
Yeah, I still have them. They're just
they're
weight that I'm
inanimate
carrying
fucking
around.
objects, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Jim.
As opposed to his wife, who is an inanimate fucking object.
But I had seen that clip before, just that one clip, and I've heard the quote before, and I never knew where it was from until now, and I had that light bulb moment when I heard him say it. I was like, ah!
You're like, ah! He
That's
said
weird.
the thing.
I'd never heard that before, but
I've
I
seen
love
it
that
written
scene.
in comments before. It's so
Okay, it's such a good scene. Oh,
And then the
Yeah.
follow-up scene after where he's like, I've got to go to Bruges to deal with some work. And no, I'm dealing with Ken. She's like, oh, fuck, Ken's a hitman. Like, you going to take the boys? He's like, no, I'm not going to take the boys. I have to. This is for honor. I told you. And she's like, was it dangerous? He's like, it's for honor. I just fucking told you it's going to be dangerous. Of course it's going to be dangerous. Look,
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I called you an inanimate object. Okay? I love you.
So good.
So great, dude.
Oh man.
And then at the same time, fucking Ray, because he punched the Canadians in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Yes, another great callback from earlier in the movie.
Mhm.
You know, something that bites him in the ass like, you know, an hour later in this movie.
That's fucking him. He's
Yeah.
like, he's Canadian. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, and he
I
called
love
him
that
a
it's
Yankee
such
earlier.
a big deal to him. He's like,
Mhm.
I would have been fine if I punched an American, but a fucking Canadian? Oh, man.
It's almost
I'm
insulting.
such an asshole.
Well, I love how they do this because, like, how do you get Ray back in Bruges? How do you finish his story? You know, while everyone else's stories are getting wrapped up, and you could have that moment, which happens in a lot of movies. The first one that comes to mind is actually Monsters Inc. When they have their falling out, Mike Wazowski kind of just walks back into the scene at the right moment, you know,
Yes.
to kind of save the day.
To save the day.
But in this, you know, with some good writing, you can actually change that around, and then Ray comes back because he's literally getting thrown off of the train that's going to carry him out of the movie, you know, and so
Yes.
brings him back in, and now he's stuck in Bruges again, you know, because he got arrested.
And the
So-
only phone number that he has is the phone number of Chloe.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yes,
she
that's how
gave
you
him
tie the love
card.
interest back into it too. So she
Right.
just doesn't walk into the movie out of nowhere.
No,
Yeah,
he
it's
calls
very
her. Yeah. it's-
Obvious, legitimate
Yeah.
reason
There's a-
for her to come back into the third act because he has to call her.
Yeah,
there's
not
no way that
just
he can
being the
call
love
Ken.
interest. Not a good
Yeah,
enough reason.
yeah.
He has
give
no way to
her-
call Ken because he
yeah.
doesn't have Ken's phone. He's not gonna call Harry. Like, he doesn't know anybody in Bruges, so of course he's gonna call the only person that's in Bruges that could get him bailed out.
Yeah.
Like I said, that it's a neat.
I didn't think about that,
film.
Danon, but that was a really unlazy way, really original way of bringing those characters back in to Bruges.
Exactly. Yeah, and by
And
using
they
a
could
scene
have just
that happened.
done something a lot more phoned in.
Yeah.
It's a testament to good writing. Yeah, I mean, it's like
Mhm.
it everything lines up and makes sense and is logically coherent, which is something that is challenging, I think, for even blockbuster movies to nail. So it's really cool that they did it with this one.
Well, you even said it
Yeah.
earlier, Ben. Like, they did a really good job, and I think you did too, Jared. But they do a really good job of making the world seem interconnected. And this is another one
Yeah.
of those things, is to tie a plot point from halfway through the movie into this scene that's pretty close to the very end. You know.
Yeah, you could
Mhm.
argue the but it's a convenient movie And I
Oh
think
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
dramatic here.
yeah.
The Canadians were with the Belgian police on that train, and they found him, like, really. But that's the convenience aspect of it. It's like it is a movie of coincidences, just like Nice Guys, and like that helps to keep the story moving forward, even though
Yeah.
everything is logically coherent.
And the thing that makes it different there too is that this happens throughout the entire movie. You know, so it's not just like, well, that seems ooh, okay, good job,
Yeah, it's a
writer, bailing
stylistic
yourself out of that
choice.
one. No, like
No,
everything
they
in this movie
establish.
is tied. You know, it's like if you looked at
Yeah.
like one of those nail art boards, you know, everything's wound
Right.
together. Like, so that plot point where he punches that Canadian couple is tied to the joke that they made earlier in the movie. It's also tied back to the scene at the very end that gets him off the train and back into other scenes that are tied to other. It's very well written because they have one, it's just written well, but then also the characters are really well written. And so you have this Canadian couple that, you know, is well written and it's a very memorable scene in the movie. And so when you see them later at the end, you're like, who are those people? Oh, yeah, he punched them. Okay, yeah. No, you see them and you're like, oh, he decked that dude. And now they're getting thrown off, you know, and they're getting put in jail. So it's, you know, it's very hard to do that.
Yeah, even the way the cop talks to him, he's like, "You hit the Canadian, you hit the Canadian." And he's like, "What the fuck are you saying?"
Yeah, and he
what?
like makes fun of him.
I didn't hit a Canadian.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, they're Canadian.
Oh,
Mhm.
Oh fuck. I'm sorry about the John Lennon thing, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he ends up back in Bruges, and Harry shows up to Bruges, and he
buys his own gun.
He goes to Yuri.
He goes back to Yuri. Yuri is the gun dealer for everyone because the skinhead's there too.
The skinhead is fucking there, and he's got a fucking eye patch because he got point. And Yuri's like, oh yeah, this fucking skinhead actually, he's not talking. Oh, that's right. The skinhead's like, yeah, fuck that guy. And Harry's like, talking to me? He's like, no, Yuri's like, no. He's not a fan of Ray either. It's like, oh, what happened? Like, he fucking shot me in the face with a blanket, blinded me. They'll say I never see out of my eye. And then we get the fucking scene. Her being like, well, sounds like that's kind of on you. What? Well, I mean, try to rob a man, use a gun with blanks in it, get the gun taken from you, then get shot in the face with the blanks to the point you're blind. You must have been pretty fucking close to the guy.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's really on you, mate. Just saying.
And he's like, it's like, I thought you wanted him dead. And he's like, I do. I want him crucified. But
that doesn't make you any less of a poof.
Yeah. Doesn't make you any less of a poof. Right? I like that he's like, well, take your pick. And he looks at the Uzi and he's like, I'm not going to South fucking Central LA.
Yeah, I'm not going to South Central LA to shoot a bunch of kids.
You to shoot
drive by
10 black kids in a drive-by. Yeah, it was funny.
God damn, dude. So he gets a classier gun.
He's like, I want a regular fucking gun for a regular fucking job.
Yeah.
So he gets an M9 or something.
Yeah, something with like it's got like a spicy little.
Oh, is it
on it too.
M1911?
It's a old Colt 45.
Nice.
45 and
rap songs are all we knew.
And then fucking Yuri's on alcoves again. He's like, yeah, I told him about the alcoves.
But then Rafe, he's like, what?
Like in the park, there's alcoves. He's like, fuck, man, I don't want to hear about this shit. Just give me the gun. It's like, yeah. It's like, we use this word dum-dums. Do you know what these are? Oh, dum-dums. Yes, I do know what dum-dums are. Oh, I shouldn't. I love that scene because dum-dums are also a candy. And so he's like,
right.
I really shouldn't. Ah, what the heck? And he like reaches. God, everybody's a goddamn child in this movie. I swear.
Yeah, it's really funny.
And so Harry goes, he finds Ken sitting in a cafe, just like fucking with a shit-eating grin on his face, drinking coffee. And they sit down and just have like like in any other movie, this would be an extremely tense scene between like the two people. It's like right before the big showdown. It would be like, Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling like having like their like really deep like, no, we're gonna kill each other right after this. So like this is gonna be serious. But this movie is just like, let's just make it really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like these guys are friends, and so if they were to sit down and have a conversation, you're obviously gonna see that they like each other, even though they're gonna go kill each other. And like something about that makes it a lot more heartwarming. About not heartwarming, but kind of bittersweet. That like, yeah, they're gonna kill each other, but dude, they get along really well. Even the scene where it's like,
Yeah.
you're a cunt. You've always been a cunt, mate. You're a huge cunt. You go and you have yourself a cunt marriage with cunt kids. Leave my kids out of this. Take that. Retract that. Okay, I do retract the thing about your cunt kids. I'm sorry. Your kids aren't cunts. It's like,
Well,
God, I can't believe you fucking.
he says he calls them his cunt fucking kids, and he's like, "You take that back about my cunt fucking kids." And he's like, "You're right. I'm sorry." I love how he says it too.
Yeah, he's like, I can't believe I sit down with you. You don't listen to my orders, and then you call my kids cunts. He's like, I retracted the thing about the cunt kids, mate.
Yeah.
The dialogue is so good. Like it's
amazing.
such a good...
And then he's like, yeah, I talked to Yuri about these fucking. He keeps bringing up these goddamn alcoves, going on about alcoves. He's like, oh, he was going on about alcoves with you too. God, fucking Yuri.
And then they're like, he's like, well, you got to do what you got to do, I guess. Get on with it. He's like, I'm not gonna shoot you here with 10,000 Belgians around here.
Yeah, I'm not
Plus all the foreign people who are here on holiday. Like, why even say that?
It's so good. Yeah. And so he's like, let's go up into the fucking tower.
And they run into that same asshole from the beginning of the movie.
That's right. The dude that wouldn't take the. I mean, that's honest. Another fucking great Chekhov's gun where he pulls out 490 in euros, like one by one at the very beginning, trying to pay the toll for 5 euros, and he like hands it to the guy who's a stickler, the tower attendant. The tower attendant's like, 5 euros to enter. It's like, come on, man, it's 10 cents. 5 euros to enter. And he's like, fucker, and he gives him a 50 and takes his coins back. And then in this scene, the same guy comes out, and he's like, the tower's closed today. He's like, we're just gonna go up there. Here's 100. Just like let us in. And the guy starts poking Harry in the face, and like everybody, including the audience, you're all just like,
uh-oh. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, Harry fucking just beats the shit out of him. They go up the top of the tower, just pistol whips him, and then like gets on the ground, starts just fucking wailing on him. But they get to the top of the tower. And at this time, literally at the bar below is freaking Ray and Chloe, who have because Chloe bailed him out of jail, and then they're getting to know each other. It turns out they actually like each other, and she doesn't want to rob him anymore. Or I guess she didn't want to rob him since that phone call, but whatever. And so they're having a great old time. Literally like the time of this of Ray's life. And Harry and Ken are at the top of the tower, and Ken puts the gun down. He's like, look, mate, I'm not going to fight you. Like, I know what I did was fucked up. Like, listen, I understand that I owe you a lot. I owe you more than anything. I owe you my life. And then I go and I disrespect you, but I did what I had to do. I feel like the only way that I could do this was by disrespecting you. And so I accept what you have to do, which is to, retain your honor by punishing me for disrespecting you. I understand all of this, and I'm sorry. I love you, mate. You're a really great guy. I know you have to kill me, so like, just get it over with. And I get it. And fucking Harry's like, why the fuck am I supposed to kill you after you said all that to me?
Yeah. And you know what? That's the thing about this movie is that you like Ray and you like Ken, but honestly, I really sympathize with Ralph Fiennes' character a lot, because he honestly isn't coming from a bad spot. He's like, you fucked this up. You killed a kid. And
he says something
like,
sorry,
I can't have you like, you're a loose cannon and you killed a kid. Like, them's the breaks. Like, in this business,
that's
I'm
on you.
not the bad guy. Like, you killed a kid by accident or otherwise. Like,
yeah, and if I killed a kid, I would have fucking shot myself right in the face then and there.
On the spot. On the spot,
I would shoot myself in the face. So it's really like not my fault that I have to kill him. He's been a dead man ever since he killed the kid.
Right. And it's like our protagonist, you obviously want them to succeed, but the Ralph Fiennes character, he's not really wrong. I mean, obviously his principles
his principles are solid. His
principles are solid, and his logic is solid in the context of this is a hitman. This is the business of being a hitman. He's not wrong. Like, yeah, you kill a kid. That's the end of that. So it didn't really occur to me until that scene where I'm like, yeah, I guess Ralph Fiennes is like kind of just doing what anyone in his position.
And he sent
would
him to
do.
Bruges
He's not really a
to
bad guy.
enjoy like his last days. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
it was kind of a thoughtless.
very thoughtful.
It was a thoughtless silver
He's trying to be
dollar.
thoughtful.
He's
but-
trying to be thoughtful.
It was a sweet notion nonetheless.
Yeah.
He didn't hate. He says it several times. He doesn't hate Ray. He just like he
Mhm.
killed a kid. He's got to die.
Mhm.
And so he shoots Ken in the leg, and he's like, "I didn't come all the way to Belgium just not to do anything to you." But then Ken's like, "Motherfucker, why you shoot me in the leg?" And they're like walking down the staircase, but fucking Eric, goddamn blinded
That skinhead punk.
skinhead
Mhm.
poof, sees his girlfriend with Ray, and then he like also happened to notice Harry and Ken go up into the tower, and so he like runs up the tower, and they're coming down the tower, and Eric's like, "Hey, it's me, it's the poof," or well, he's like, "Oh, you're the fucking loser that got blinded, right?" He's like, yeah. Hey, look. And he tells him that Ray is at the bottom of the tower at the bar. And so then Ken or freaking they like get into a little scuffle, Ray, Ken and Harry, because like suddenly like Ken's whole like I won so you can kill me, but like I already won thing is like no longer on the table. Like now Harry does have a chance, and so now Ken has to fight Harry, and they like get into a scuffle, but then Harry gets shot, or Ken gets shot in the neck, and Harry runs down the stairs to go kill Ray. And so Ken goes like he like very dramatically like climbs back up. They must have just started climbing down the staircase or something, because he very dramatically drags himself to the ledge of the tower.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like got the gun, and you think, oh, he's gonna shoot Harry from the top of the tower, but then there's a foggy night, and so it's like, motherfucker, I can't see anything. And so then he basically like says his prayers essentially, and starts dropping coins off the tower, the 490 that he had. And people are like starting to stop and take notice, and that causes Ray to kind of perk up and be like, wait, what the fuck's going on? And then fucking Ken jumps off the tower, effectively killing himself. He hits the ground, fucking breaks his arms and everything's like dying. Ray runs over. He's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. He's like, Harry's here. Take my gun. And even in this moment of like serious drama, Ray reaches in to grab the gun. And of course it's like in pieces because the guy just jumped off a fucking tower.
And okay, look, I was thinking about that too. I was like, if I was trying and hand off a gun after I've jumped off the fucking tower, why would I put it in the same pocket that I'm falling forward on? It's like I'm falling straight onto this fucking thing. It's
I don't know, man. You got shot in the leg and the neck. I don't know. I think there's a lot of.
I mean,
I don't know what I was thinking about. Yeah.
Small of the back.
It's such a
snap when you.
It's such.
Are you gonna secret and swallow your back?
These are the things that I think of.
It's such an amazing nod to like action movies. It's like, grab my gun. You're like, this is how he gets a gun. And he reaches in, and then it's just like, this thing's all fucked. He's like, where's my gun? And he's just like, I'm dying now, I think.
He doesn't even tell him where his gun is to that the other friend. He's like, where's my gun? And he's like, I'm dying now,
I think. All right. You know, it's funny, but like I feel like somehow that is such a more realistic thing to say. If you just fallen off a tower, grab the gun. I'm dying now, I think.
Yeah.
I'm in a lot of pain. I can't really think straight.
Yeah.
And so then, of course, fucking Harry comes out. He sees him. He's got the gun. Everybody sees that he's got a gun. So they all start running. And then Ray runs. He gets back to the hotel. The hotelier is like, the fuck? I thought you were gone. And he's like, get the fuck out of here. Go home. Go home. It's dangerous to be here. Give me the key. And he runs upstairs. He's looking for the gun. And the hotelier sticks around. So fucking Ray finds the gun. And he's about to go back down. And he has the opportunity to shoot Harry without him realizing, because Harry's talking to the hotelier like, is he here? Is he here? And he could have shot him, but then he thinks better and decides not to shoot, and instead to call out and say, hey, I'm up here. Yeah. No, I'm up here. And he's like, oh, I suppose you got a gun up there. And then the fucking hotelier. I love that. I love her interaction between the two of them because she has a very like real, like reasonable reaction to this. The two guys have guns and they're like explicitly saying that they need to kill each other. And she's like, just stop. What is wrong with you two? Stop acting like idiots. Just go home. And she's like, I'm not going anywhere. She like sits, she's like pouting. He's like, well, I'm not gonna.
This is my place. I'm not going anywhere.
And Harry's like, well, I'm right. Well, I'm not just gonna fucking shoot you with the baby and all. Like, just let me up there.
Yeah.
And
He's
so
a gentleman.
he's a gentleman. They're all gentlemen, you know.
Yeah.
They're
That's
all,
the funny thing about this
they're
movie.
all the same. They all have so much in common, man. It's amazing how similar in morality they all are. But then Ray comes up with the idea of like jumping out of the window into the canal, and he'll try to swim across. And then, you know, if he can catch him, then like you can kill me. But if I get away, then that's it. I got away. And so they're like, okay, on the count of 3. And he's like, wait. Do I go right or left? He's like, look at the fucking door, you knob. It's the big canal to your right, obviously. Which was a much better version of the joke from Psycho Gorman.
What? Which one?
The one where Psycho Gorman shows up in the bathroom to the dad and is telling him,
oh, yeah.
Oh, it is kind of like
how
that,
to get to where he is.
It's the same joke, but so much better.
Well, yeah, it's
That's
definitely
funny.
not cheesy.
It's fucking
Psycho Gorman had a specific amount of cheese that I think you can only get in one restaurant in Italy. So,
but yeah, so they do it. He jumps out, but there's a boat, so he like lands on the boat. It's like ferrying him away. But then Harry sees him, and it's a pretty good distance. He's got the fucking gun, and Colin Farrell's like, it's too far. There's no way he's gonna fucking shoot me. He just fucking nails him dead center. And you're like, oh fuck, because now Colin Farrell's got a fucking like he got shot in the kidney.
Yeah.
And so he like climbs off the ferry boat, which, you know, props to the ferry driver, just like being like, oh, he's gone. Guess I'll just keep going.
No problemo.
Yeah. And so he gets up, he's like walking, and he stumbles onto the movie set where Jimmy was filming. And freaking Jimmy, who's at this point in the movie dressed up in like a little boy's outfit for the plot or for his film, sees Ray stumble onto the set, and he like starts walking over to him. But it's at that moment that Harry catches up, shoots Colin Farrell a bunch of times through the back in the exact same way that Ray shot the priest. And he's using the dum-dum rounds, another great just little nod, which meant they call them like, you know, they say it like blows up their skull, which is a very important moment for what happens next, because, you know, Colin Farrell collapses. He sees basically the blown off head on like what looks like a school child's body. And then Ray like crawls over to Jimmy, and Harry walks and like looks at what he's done, and he's like, well, I'm a man of principle, and fucking blows his brains out, which is exactly what he said he was going to do.
And what was crazy is Ray actually tries to stop him from killing himself.
Right. He says, Harry,
which is so crazy, because this dude has been trying to kill him. This dude has shot him at least twice now. And literally, Ray, for whatever reason, is like, no, don't do it.
Yeah, don't
like,
do it.
Why stop him?
Because Ray believes that he can be redeemed. His entire problem, this entire plot of the movie, is that he believes that he cannot be redeemed for killing this child. I mean, you got a long way to go if you're killing a kid. Let's be honest here. But it's this internal struggle that he has, you know. It's it drives him to the point of suicide, you know.
Yeah,
and he gets to that point where he's about ready to kill himself, and then he gets stopped, you know. And so I think there's this moment at the end where Harry kills himself. Ray tries to stop him because he almost did that same exact thing. And I don't think he's quite there yet where he believes he's out of it, you know, where he's out of his suicidal tendencies.
Oh, so he still wants Harry to kill him. Because he's suicidal, is what you're saying.
I don't think so. No, I think he
I
wants to
think
live.
that he's no longer. I think that he wants to live at this point in the movie too. Yeah,
But
he, like,
because Harry killed himself, it's kind of like, oh shit. Well, they're like, he just killed a kid, and now he's killed himself. I killed a kid. I was about to kill myself, but I hoped that there was some sort of redemption. So I was given a second chance. So I'm gonna try and do that. So they're in the same exact situation, sort of, because Harry didn't actually kill a child, but so I think it's a very interesting.
He actually killed a racist little person, which
so
is significantly less bad.
Yeah, than an actual child.
Yep.
Who's praying to God because he's bad at maths. So yeah.
God, that's right. I'm bad at math.
That's right.
Oh, jeez. And then you get what is probably the best possible ending for this movie, and I think that it helps that this is I don't know if it's a European film, but I guess it probably is. It's got to be like a British film or something.
Yeah.
But even if not, like, it doesn't feel like a Hollywood movie because he's laying there in the stretcher. He's being put onto an ambulance. You see all of the characters that matter to him, like with like shock on their faces, including Chloe, who's finally caught up, and she's like crying and like trying to like grab him. And they put him into the ambulance, and Colin Farrell is giving a monologue saying that, God, I probably am going to go to hell. But like, I just wish that I didn't have to fucking spend my last days in fucking Bruges. He's like, well, maybe that's the problem. Maybe being in hell is spending all of your days in Bruges, and I deserve to go to hell. And I love the twisted logic of like, I deserve to go to hell, and hell is being in Bruges for every day for the rest of my life. God, I don't want to fucking die. I want to stay in Bruges.
And he's like, actually, I want to live.
I want to live. I want to live. Roll credits.
Yeah.
And that was the perfect fucking way to end this movie. I cannot think of a better way to have done that. So they really stuck the ending on that. I'm so glad that there wasn't like an epilogue where he like wakes up in the hospital and is fine or something. Like, we don't need to know.
Yeah.
You don't got to tell matter.
Us. Yeah, the movie's over. The movie's over at that point.
Yeah. So. A lot of other films, I think, would feel compelled to say like, oh, he lived. No, be happy. Everything's happy. The drug dealer girl is, she's with him. And like, yeah, it's like, no, like, we're not going to give you the satisfaction, and you don't need the satisfaction of like knowing whether or not he did. You like, that's not the point of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The point of the movie is the whole journey that we took to get here. So even though it's a comedy film, it's got a really strong morality, or not maybe morality, but like philosophy. It's got a really strong philosophy about it.
Yeah.
It's a very philosophical film for being a dark comedy,
mm-hmm.
which is, I think, a very big plus for the movie, because it really, I mean, even just the concept of like, if you're a hitman and you have to kill somebody, but they're suicidal, like, do you kill them, or do you let them kill themselves, or do you stop? Like, what do you do as a person in that moment? It's a very funny kind of dilemma. It's like the train. It's like the trolley problem.
Mm-hmm. I like that. In this, I like about movies that when characters are written in a way where everyone is really just shades of gray. Mm-hmm. No one is really totally a bad guy. Like Ralph Fiennes' character is not really. I mean, okay, they're all bad guys because they're all hitmen. They're all murderers.
Strictly speaking, they're all hitmen.
Strictly speaking, they're all bad guys. But none of them are really bad guys in the traditional sense of the movie, because they're all actually kind of doing what they're supposed to be doing. Even even the Ray character, it's like, if I was Ray, I can totally sympathize with how he'd be feeling, Mm-hmm. And the guy who's kind of the main antagonist of the movie, he's not really wrong. He's actually really likable. He's really funny.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like when movies really have just a bunch of characters that are different shades of gray. No one's really just this kind of black and white, oh, this is the bad guy sort of thing,
Yeah, I mean, it's very, and the way that the movie resolves is very Shakespearean.
Mm-hmm.
And in the idea that like all of the bad actors end up dying. it's like it's a tragedy. Like
Yeah.
it's funny. There's but it's it's still a tragedy, and all the characters that you grow to like and experience like their lives with, they're all dead at the end of the movie, and that's
You
like,
don't know.
yeah.
You
Well,
don't know. Is Ray dead?
is Ray dead? Who knows?
I don't know.
Um, but yeah, I mean that's the it's a very it feels like a very classical kind of tragedy sort of storytelling from the perspective of like how things actually resolved.
Mhm.
But it's a humorous movie. I would not call this a funny movie.
I would say it's got funny parts. I mean, it's dark comedy, so dark comedy is going to have a pretty introspective. Yeah, it's gonna have a very introspective kind of like plot where there's gonna be a lot of plot lines that kind of make you question morality, like you had mentioned earlier, and philosophy too. There's a ton of that all over the movie. That's all the characters talk to each other about is philosophy.
Yeah.
There's even that scene where they're in the museum, they're looking at the Bosque painting. That dude, Judgment, the Final Judgment, the painting.
Yeah.
So when they're looking at that, and they're literally, they're just talking about hell. I'm like, do they deserve to go there? Is that the place?
Yeah, like, do you believe in all
them?
that shit? And he doesn't have like a straight answer for him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how.
Yeah.
I like
It's
his
very human.
Ray's explanation of purgatory. He's like,
in between.
He's like, that's where you go when you weren't like real shit, but you weren't like a really great guy either. You like weren't a total piece of shit, but you weren't really a nice guy either. So you just go
you go to the purgatory.
You just go to purgatory.
God, that was great. The Ken's defense of being a good person, because if he sees a woman with like a lot of bags, he wouldn't like help her to get home or anything, but he would hold the door open for her. I mean,
yeah,
that's
Ray's
just like,
really
well, if
clever
you
stuff.
tried to help her, she'd probably think you're gonna nick her bags anyway. So like,
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. So I don't know. I was very surprised by this movie, and this is again one of those movies heavily recommended to me by one person, which usually tends, I don't know, but in my experience, it usually tends to ruin things for me. Ben knows I'm a very spiteful.
Anytime I want Danon to enjoy something, I always tell him, I don't think you're gonna like this, but I think you should watch it anyways.
And I think it's a little bit
so you're like
defensive.
Just because someone who likes it, you're gonna intentionally try and find a way to not like it.
I think it puts a bias into your brain, Danon.
It puts a bias into my brain, yeah, that I'm very, very aware of. But then I think as soon as someone recommends something to me, I become very hypercritical of it. That's probably why. And so I start looking for things like, okay, why did you like this? Oh, you like this for this reason. I don't like it for that reason. And that's probably why.
Yeah.
That's probably
now I need to find a reason why I don't like it.
Well, I had a huge problem in school with the books they would assign us. Like every book that they assigned us, Catcher in the Rye, The Great Gatsby, all these books, I hated them because they made us read them a specific way that I don't read books. And so I think that's what it stems from a little bit too.
I guess I still don't like Catcher in the Rye. I don't.
It's not a good book.
I don't give a fuck what people say. Holden's a little bitch. Holden's a little bitch. That's all you need to know. Fuck Holden. He's
nothing
stupid.
happens in that book.
The point of the story. He's a kid.
Yeah, but he's irritating, and I don't want to read a whole book about him.
I am totally on Jeremy's side. I hate that. I really don't like that book. I didn't read it. I like all the I think I failed that entire book, and all the assignments tied into that because I just refused to read the book. I was like, this is so stupid. I'd try to catch up in class, but like, no.
Yeah.
So what I had to do was read every book that was assigned to us. I'd have to read it like the day of, and they're not very long books, and so I'd have to like power through it really quick so I can try and like at least do the assignments. But even still, like going in there in the nitty gritty and picking them apart, and they basically assign chapters, and it's like, oh, you should have gotten this, and you should have gotten this from reading this, and you should have understood this. I don't like that. I like stuff like this where it's more freeform, where we can come to our own conclusions about things and talk about things.
Yeah,
and
I had
references.
I had
to
teachers in at least my, I guess, senior English classes. My high school English classes, actually, pretty much all of them, where they did open the floor. And even in college, actually, I took a specific general ed path, which was an experimental education where it was very freeform.
Hmm.
It was called study hall in my middle school.
It was called
We just got to work on your homework.
interdisciplinary general ed.
Experimental.
It literally, we all
Some math
sat
rock?
in a
What is this?
circle. No, we all sat in a circle. We fucking moved our desks and sat and put them in a circle. This was in college. And basically would have readings before each class. And we would come into class and the professor would just be like, okay, who wants to go first? And we would just like start a candid conversation about the reading, but then like wherever the conversation would go is like where it would end up. So like if we like ended up, going off on like a really long tangent, the idea was that the professor would like make sure that it was a studious tangent, but like wouldn't interfere with the flow of the conversation. This was the experimental aspect of it.
Interesting.
So it's just like guided talks with your friends, but
about what you read.
Yeah, at least your peers, maybe not your friends, but I found that to be way better. So yeah, I agree. I think the idea of being Hitler about books is a great way to get kids not to want to read them.
Yeah, and books that I ended up loving later, just because I was forced to read them and I was forced to, basically try and regurgitate what what you think the theme should be. There are books that I love, like 1984 and Fahrenheit 451, that I think are just amazing, amazing prophetic books of our time. And at the time, I was like, "Fuck Fahrenheit 451." I didn't want to read it because I didn't want to do your homework on it. But they're amazing books, and I love them. And I didn't.
Yeah, both
and I wouldn't know that until later.
Yeah,
that
I think it's interesting because I find this a lot with music now, with like dissecting lyrics specifically. I find a lot of satisfaction in doing the exact same kind of thing that they would have you do with books in like a senior AP English class as I do with like music, particularly with albums, where I'm like, what is this album about? And like really dissecting this and trying to find like the greater themes across the course of the album, and things like that. And I always love it when I come up with something which is like accurate, not necessarily that the English teacher is saying this is the theme, but like, the band having been kind of candid about like, yeah, we were thinking about something along these lines. And I'm like, I got that. I feel good about what I came up with. So I think there is merit, at least, to the idea that like the artist obviously had something to say, which is probably more correct. But at the end of the day, art is subjective. And the more pretentious you are as an artist, the more you're going to say that like your opinion about your art should not matter as much, because art is this ethereal, greater than us, bigger than thou experience. And for me to paint in your mind what it means is only going to take away from the greater experience of what art is at all. I feel like that's the correct kind of pretension that people should have about art, as opposed to the opposite, which is like, it's about this, and if you don't get it, then you're dumb.
Yeah, like I literally got answers wrong on an English comprehensive test, where we talked about the book. I got answers wrong. How?
And it's like, this is what I got out of it.
Yeah, like,
how is it
be wrong?
This is a objectively wrong answer.
Yeah, I mean,
So
they should be short form, right? They should be short form answers, and the teacher should be able to read it and think, okay, did this kid like actually read the book, and did he think critically about it? Like, not the curtains were yellow, so which emotion did that convey about the person? Cowardly, angry, money grubbing. And you're like, oh fuck, what does yellow mean again? Yeah.
Now, if you want to know if what's really dumb, take that, your same frustrations that you have about those English classes, and apply it to Christian learning, because I went to Lutheran school.
No,
Isn't that the entire point? Too, right? Is just to like be able to glean what you can from the Bible, and how it pertains to your life. So it can't be wrong.
First period Christian learning class. Oh no!
I've been to Bible study. Well, you've been to Bible study too, Danon. You should.
I wish this was a Bible study. This is not a church thing. This was Lutheran school, so
it is like even more formal.
Yeah, I didn't go to the church that I went to. The Lutheran school had a church you could go to, but I'm not Lutheran. I was sent to a Lutheran school, but I'm not Lutheran. The church, Newport Mesa, wasn't like that. They knew what They knew that that would be stupid.
Yeah.
But no, I went to Lutheran school until I was in 7th grade. And the whole first period, your whole first class, is exactly like what you're talking about, Danon, but about the Bible. And it's like,
Oh man.
how much more should this not be about what you like? You know what I mean? This should be more about the personal meaning than any other book, right? That's the whole thing. I was so pissed off because at some point I became aware of this, and I was like, this is all bullshit. Like,
Like, this isn't how this works.
This is not
what's supposed
how-
to happen. Is you're supposed to explain what this means so I can understand it better, so I can apply it to my own life. You're not
Yes,
supposed to sit here and tell me what it means.
And
That's
not
not the
only that,
point.
but then
Explain it.
fail me if I don't get out of the Bible what you tell me I'm supposed to get out of the Bible.
Yeah.
That's not how the Bible is supposed to work.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, especially
that
within
a
the context
commandment?
of like being hyper literal about the Bible is not going to win you followers. You know, it's
Especially when you're a 13, 14-year-old kid who's already questioning everything, and then you're like turning the Bible into a textbook. That's pretty
Oh,
bad.
yeah.
That's pretty stupid.
that seems like a
Mhm.
pretty great way to get that kid to stop being Christian in college.
Might
Yeah.
even get him shot in the head while he's praying.
Yeah, you never
Hopefully
know.
not.
you
Hopefully
never know,
not.
'cause he was bad at
Ooh.
math.
Look,
Because
it's
he's
another
bad at
callback.
maths. Yeah,
That's-
callback.
Yeah, he
to the-
and calls back to literally the darkest scene in the entire movie.
There's our tangent. I just went back to In Bruges.
Yeah.
Back to In Bruges. But yeah, so anyways, back to the English professor analysis of this movie. Obviously, because the tower was great. No.
The tower
good
was higher
movie.
in the sky, so it meant he was closer to God.
Right.
And when he
then
fell from the
jumped
tower,
out
he
of
was
the
falling
tower,
from grace.
And that was he was becoming the devil.
So he's Lucifer, and the ground is
God.
Cain.
Cain.
Abel's the midget. Just sweating bullets
and,
here. That's why you can't pick things apart. Well, you can, but you can't be wrong about it. Everybody has their own little thing that they take from it. But I would love to hear what you guys took from this. So, are you ready for ratings, or do you want to talk about more stuff?
No, yeah, I mean, I'm down to give my rating about the movie.
Down to
I
rate.
think, yeah. Well, I want to talk quickly about the fundamental philosophy that I
Oh, yeah, good.
gleaned from this, but I'll give my rating along with that, which I thought was interesting. Basically, the idea that you are solely responsible for the outcome of your actions, I think is a really interesting point that Ralph Fiennes makes, because essentially, it's got a really interesting connotation philosophically, which is like, who cares if you didn't mean to shoot the kid? The kid got shot by the gun that was in your gun, like by the bullet that was in your gun. So you carry that responsibility, which I think is probably the perfect morality that a hitman would have, because
Mhm.
it's like the idea that it kind of takes away like whether things are good or bad and kind of puts them more into like outcome oriented things. It's like, just because you're a good person, if you do a good thing, and they talk about this with like the grocery bags, like even if you try to do a good thing, she thinks you're trying to nick her shopping, like the outcome is bad, and therefore like that's not actually a good thing. So you're better off just holding the door open for her, which is something that's going to have a good reaction. There was a lot of little things that I got out of this, just specifically in terms of like the outcome of your actions as opposed to the intention of your actions,
Yeah.
which I found to be a really fascinating moral discussion on the part of hitmen, because it does give them more leeway in terms of like killing people. It's like, I'm killing people for money, yes, but like that in itself is not fundamentally wrong from my worldview. But
Mhm.
shooting a kid, that is bad from my worldview. Like, just because I'm a hitman doesn't mean that I can't recognize that a kid getting shot by a bullet that I fired is not something that I carry responsibility for.
Yes, and the other thing is, that I hadn't picked up on until later. I don't know if they mentioned it until later in the movie, but this is his first job.
Oh, you're right. I keep forgetting
This is
about
his
that.
first
Yeah.
job, and so that makes a lot of sense, because he was really sloppy. Like, he should have capped him like once or twice and been done with it, but he has to shoot him like 9-10 times, right? And it's only because he's such a sloppy, shitty hitman, because it's his first job ever, that he ends up even killing the kid anyway. Because if he had done his job correctly, he would have put 1 or 2 bullets in the guy and been done. Instead, he gets up, wanders out of the confessional, wanders into the thing, and then he shoots him without seeing what's on the other side of him like 5-6 more times. So it's his own negligence because he's a shitty hitman.
Yeah.
And his first job. Which plays a huge part into it all, because if he wasn't shitty, if he wasn't negligent, if it wasn't his first job.
And what's really funny about that too is we got less of this scene in this movie than we did in Things to Do in Denver Before You're Dead. As far as the botched job, I was thinking about how it kind of compares to that movie. They're very different styles of movies, but the plot, I think, kind of run sort of parallel. Yeah, like, talk about doing the botched job better than in Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I mean, that all makes sense. It all adds up. His first job was a fuck up, and it was a reasonable thing to get executed by the boss for, as opposed to the other thing where it's like you shot the girl and the boy, and I'm mad about it because my son is a pedophile and I want him to be normal. Like,
well, that's a great example of a boss who has some pretty damn conflicting principles.
Yeah, I mean,
we're just going to overlook the fact that my son is an obvious pedophile who just got booked for trying to assault a kid in broad daylight. I'm mad because
on a school playground.
On a school playground. Well, I'm going to overlook that. I'm mad because you killed the woman or the girlfriend. You know, it's like, that's a dude who has no principles.
You in the asshole and let you bleed out for 50 minutes. Yeah. So no, I think that's actually, not only is it a really interesting point in the film, I think it also is a testament to how, in this case, less was more. They gave us very little of that scene, but and they didn't even give us all the details about it right away, like you said. So
no, you don't know until he's getting on the train that it was his first job.
It's very it's incredible, man. It's good. Yeah, I didn't actually realize that. Great writing, great written film, airtight plot, I would say. So going into my rating, this thing is squeaky clean. I can't think of anything that's wrong with the movie. If anything, all I can think about is how much I enjoyed it, how much I loved all the characters. They were all endearing to me. I didn't feel like anybody was acting out of character. I didn't feel like there was anything that was too convenient, even though it is a movie of convenience. So for me, this is like personal taste, 8 out of 10. Execution, I would say 10 out of 10. This is a flawless film in my regards. I don't think it's my favorite movie ever, but I do want to say that there's nothing that I could nitpick about this film. It is expertly executed, so highly recommend from me.
Nice. What do you give, Jer?
Yeah, man, this movie, it is so up my alley. Like, I didn't know how up my alley it was going to be until the dialogue started happening. I was like, oh, this is like a lot of the movies that I really love. Like, my favorite movies of all time have a lot of similarities to this one in terms of the dialogue and I like black comedies a lot. So man, it was strangely up my alley, and I will definitely be rewatching this again multiple times down the line, and I will be recommending it to my brother. Because I told you, it draws there's a lot of similarities to Snatch and like Guy Ritchie movies. And that's the one thing that my brother and I kind of bond over a lot, is we both really love Guy Ritchie movies. Like, we love Snatch, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and there's a newer one which we could talk about maybe watching sometime if you want, that came out just last year, I think, called The Gentleman.
Oh, that also has Colin Farrell in it.
That one? Yeah, and it also has Colin Farrell in it. Okay. Really good. It reminds me a lot of this one. And so this is the kind of movie that I would love, and I had never heard of it. So I really liked it. I think I'd give it maybe like an 8.5. It was that good. And in terms of rewatchability, man, like, yeah, I will definitely be watching it again for sure. The subject matter is a little dark, so I don't know if I could like go back and rewatch it right away. But yeah, I really liked it. And like you said, Ben, in terms of execution, like 10 out of 10. I mean, geez, man, like, they really thought this thing through. It's awesome. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, when I thought of it today, I was like, that's why I was like in our text conversation, I was like, oh wait, In Bruges, because I knew you would like it, Jeremy. Like I was like, this is
Yeah.
like such a Jeremy movie,
Oh,
especially
it's
based on all your recommendations. Like even like This Is England, it's got very snappy dialogue that you can kind of like delve into. Liz,
Mhm.
explain yourself. She gave it a 5.
Oh wow.
Explain
But she
yourself.
also didn't like
Okay.
Nice Guys, did she?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. Nice Guys was okay. I would
I'm
say
just saying this
you
is a
guys liked it a lot more than
similar-ish
me.
movie to Nice Guys.
It is.
So.
But I would actually give it a 10 out of 10. I don't think it's like the best movie ever made. It's not like I wouldn't ever talk about it and like, oh, I love this movie. I love this movie. But it's a really good movie. I do love it.
Yeah.
I do love
Like I
this movie.
can't really say
But
anything bad about it. It was really good.
exactly. Like I was that's the thing too, is I was very pleasantly surprised by it when I was watching it. Like even during watching it, I was like this movie is like genius and some of the writing and some of the ways that they tie the story elements together. So like you guys said, it's like 10 out of 10 for craftsmanship. But then also I just really liked it, you know. I've seen it 3 times. I'll get to Liz's text here in a minute. But I just
that
like
we always dog her about how much she writes.
yeah, no, that's fine. No, I like reading it. I just think it's funny. But yeah, I just the characters are great. Nobody's there just to be there in the movie, really. Like everybody kind of has a purpose. Anybody that has speaking time in the movie has a purpose. Even the Americans in the beginning,
Yeah.
So writing characters that have purpose,
right, because the Americans. Oh, we didn't even mention that part. The Americans one of the fat guy had a heart attack in the stairwell, and that's why the tower was closed.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I think he had a heart attack trying to get up the tower, right?
That's so funny. I don't know if I caught that.
The tower. Yeah, he said the tower attendant says some American tried to climb the tower yesterday, i.e., the day when the tower was when they had that conversation with the fat people, and he died, or he had a heart attack.
That's so funny. That's why it was closed early.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, that's so funny.
See, that's another one. That's another one
It's
tied to everything else.
Everything works. It's amazing.
So that's why I like it so much. And even watching it, you can literally sit there and like, okay, this is tied to this. This is tied to this. The dialogue is great. I love the dialogue. It's fantastic. It's funny and it's snappy and it's quick. The thing too is they talk very fast in this movie. I wonder if it's because they're both Irish. Irish people seem to talk very fast, or maybe it's just a Hollywood thing. But even still, you can follow along pretty easily what they're saying, what the characters are doing. So yeah, I give it a 10 out of 10. I think it might be the second 10 I've given on this podcast. So, but it's just like, it's hard to find something wrong with it.
So. I think I gave something else a 10 out of 10 in execution. Oh, let's see what. All right, Liz, you said mainly because she was bored the entire time, but she can see why people would like it. Acting, plot, and dialogue. This is way better than Nice Guys. Not comparable. But I thought it was just a little slow build up and was an entirely flat line. Okay.
It is a slow movie, for sure. But I mean, I like slow burns,
There was, I mean, I could kind of see where you're coming from with the slowness. There were a few times, kind of near the end actually, where I was like, okay, let's get going here. Not that I really wanted it to go faster, but I can see what you're saying. Like, for instance, the dramatic crawl back up the staircase when he's trying to get back to drop the coins and whatever. It worked for me, but I could see where that would be a time where you'd be like, okay, this is like, let's move forward. Or they spend so much time sightseeing. I could see if maybe there's a few too many of those scenes for you. If it personally it worked for me, but I could see like, yeah, maybe they could have cut out a few of those like big shots of them in the city and all that. Like, there's a lot of sightseeing. It didn't bother me, and I think it was fine, but I could see where some people might think that's making it kind of drags the movie down. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt it is a slower movie. So I don't check how much movie is left often. I checked very often.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean,
that's fair.
Everybody's entitled to their own wrong opinion. I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow. And this is exactly why Liz does not want to fucking
wrong
post her
I'll give that entire rant about being called wrong in high school and then call people wrong. I totally get it. No, I totally get it. I was very worried when I started this movie that it was going to be like that because it does open very slow. But
Yes.
when you, for me, when
you
I
don't even find
when
out
it
that
gets,
they're hit unless you've read the synopsis, which I did not, because you guys know how I feel about that.
yeah,
You don't even know.
I
that they're
was
hitmen.
confused. So it's funny that you say that because they don't tell you right off the gate. And at some point I can tell like they're here not by choice and they're being sent here. And at some point I was like, okay, what the fuck? Like, who are these guys? So I actually read the synopsis just to figure out who they were. I didn't even read the whole thing. I just read the first couple lines.
I think
after
it
maybe
opens
the
up with
first
like
5
two hitmen.
Yeah, and it's like
Bruges.
two hitmen, blah blah. And it's like, oh, that's what they are. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I didn't.
And then I closed
didn't
it.
figure it out until the cafe scene where they're talking about needing to get a gun.
Yeah.
He says, he's like, maybe we're here for a job, and I was like, they're laying low. Maybe they're there for a job instead. Oh, we need a gun. I was like, oh, these guys must be like killers.
Bronx Tale is badass for
I
sure.
I want to talk about Bronx Tale, but I have to wait for my dad to come back from work because he's the one that recommended it. So I want to talk to him for it. But Bronx Tale is fantastic. I really want to talk about that movie.
Bronx Tale. That was good.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Okay, you need to watch it. I guess that'll be the first episode we do when my dad comes back.
Sure.
We can do that one. From
week,
buying cigarettes.
Next week, though, we've got
He'll come back someday.
Jesus.
I'm 26.
He's doing a dark comedy thing, guys.
See, there you go.
It's a callback.
He's just like Liam Neeson in Cold Point or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Cold Point?
Cold Point.
This is it's like the latest Liam Neeson movie. Who did I see this?
I've stopped watching Liam Neeson movies, man.
I thought I saw this with
There's too many. There's too many weird taken ripoff.
Oh,
dude, it's so
Cold Pursuit.
It's called Cold Pursuit. There's one called Unknown. There's one called
there's a problem with Liam Neeson. So he's a great actor, and before he did, was it Taken? I think it was before he did Taken. He was not an action actor. I mean, he did Star Wars, but he was not in action movies.
I mean, it's not
until
like he was
Taken.
really an action guy in Star Wars.
Not even. He came from dramas.
Yeah,
he was an old guy when he started his action movie phase.
Yeah, which is so strange because he's a really good dramatic actor. He was in Les Miserables, the
older one, right?
Yeah, the older one. There's that one movie that,
of course, Schindler's List.
Schindler's List, great movie. There was one where he's a Scotsman or an Irishman or something like that. It's like a period piece. But that movie, he's Rob Roy, I think it was Rob Roy. So he has a background in all these dramas, and then he just gets typecast as an action dude. The old washed up, it was just so strange to me. It's like, put him back in a drama where he belongs. He did Taken as like a one-off thing, and he's great.
The first Taken movie's cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
I think that movie works so well because Liam Neeson was not an action actor at that time. So to cast him in that role where he's kind of out of his element a little bit, maybe a little bit.
He did well in it. I enjoy the movie. I think it's good, but we didn't need.
I really like Taken. Yeah,
and we didn't need all of these dumb, Taken.
Cold Pursuit
remakes.
was my first experience with a true black comedy.
Is it a black comedy?
It's absolutely a black comedy.
Okay, maybe I'll check it out, but I don't know. I'm over the Liam Neeson action stuff.
Like I said, there's just been so many weird ones like that.
Well, yeah, but Cold Pursuit is fundamentally an odd duck because of how dark. It's much darker than In Bruges. It is, but how they still intersperse the comedic elements. So just from I want to experience a very weird kind of experimental clash of genres. And again, it was my first real black comedy, so I don't know that this is out of character for this genre. But for me, I was just like, this is very, very weird in terms of I don't know how the tone of the movie is very, very abrupt often, and it's there's something very interesting about experiencing the tonal shifts that happen continuously, because there's some moments, that I think are shared in Bruges, where there's just like there's literally a scene where two people are beating each other to death, and then one of them finally gets the upper hand, but they're both exhausted, and so they just like are laying down, panting, covered in blood, and they start laughing and laughing and laughing until finally they like are out of breath laughing, and then the guy who has clearly won the fight kills the other guy, and it's just like,
oh, and then it just shocks you back into that.
and you're just
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's like so
I like that.
It's like brutal, brutal, brutal. Okay, we're both really tired. It's ridiculous. Look at where we are. Look at what we're doing. This is fucking ridiculous. We'll both, as human beings, just share in how absurd this is. But I still have to kill you. And it's
but then boom, I kill you.
And then boom, I kill you. Which is just like
that's kind of cool. Oh, it's got pink-haired
a lot of that in this movie. A
pink-haired
lot
lady
of that
from
specific kind of tonal
from
back and
the dumb
forth
Star Wars
fighting.
movie.
Oh, Laura Dern.
Yeah.
You can just say the girl from Jurassic Park.
No, I like
much
pink-haired
better
lady
than-
from dumb Star Wars movie.
Pink-haired lady?
I'm sticking with it.
Hold up. I like that
there's
better.
another. Yeah, if you guys want to watch, I don't know that I'd recommend it for the show, but if I would recommend you guys see that movie just to get like an experience.
I do want to watch it. It's actually known for its dark humor. That's what a lot of people praised. So if that's the case, I'll watch it.
It
so
is
if it's a bit different.
Extremely dark, but extremely funny movie. It's like both very intensely, which is much different from In Bruges, which I think toes the line kind of, elegantly.
For sure. It kind of slips in
like,
and out.
This is like shocking you into both constantly. There's there's another very dramatic scene, and it's like all this build up and stuff, build up, and then it just falls completely flat, and you're like, huh?
Okay, I'll check it out. So, I do want to end this thing because we've been going for 2 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah, we should end this thing.
So, that has been our review on In Bruges. Very glad we talked about this movie because, like I said, I've been wanting to discuss it for a long time. So, great movie. I really wish it was more well known, but fantastic performances from everybody. It's funny. I can't watch a Ralph Fiennes movie without thinking that's Voldemort.
There's a scene where he says Harry.
He says Harry a lot.
Yeah. No, in this movie, in Bruges.
Oh, well, yeah. It's weird because Brendan Gleeson is Alistair Moody in the fourth movie, or in the Harry Potter universe.
Yeah.
It's funny, that he's in there, and then we have Ralph Fiennes, and then Colin Farrell
Potter
is also in
every
it.
British actor. I'm amazed that Colin
This has
Farrell
got to be a
isn't
British
somehow.
production then. This is obviously a British movie then.
British directed. I mean, it's Focus Pictures. I don't know where they're located. But yeah, really
Whoever
good
the casting person is. Yeah.
So that was our reveal or our review.
We've revealed this movie to you. So what we want to do next is, of course, coming out this Thursday, Justice League, the Snyder Cut.
We're doing the Snyder Cut?
I want to do the Snyder Cut.
Yes. I thought you guys wouldn't be into doing the Snyder Cut.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
No, I knew it. Even I've actually heard some good things about it too. So I'm very curious. I'm ready to shit all over it, Jeremy.
That's exciting.
I'm ready to fuck up your.
And it'd be great to do
I thought
this.
I might have to convince you to try and do it. That's so great. You're into it.
I'm sold.
Let's do it.
Yeah, my dad's not going to be on, so we'll have a good time with it. So I'll just be shitting on superhero movies all the time.
I recently rewatched the director's cut, the extended edition of Dawn of Justice in preparation for the Snyder Cut.
Okay.
So,
all right. What is
Batman
Dawn
v
of
Superman.
Justice? Is that?
Batman v Superman.
Oh.
Okay.
I just hate that title. It's called the
dumb.
official title is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, but I always just call it Dawn of Justice because that's so dumb.
Batman.
Why did you say that name?
Just go full verses. I mean, the V is like legal.
No,
legal battles.
I think the studio just was like, we need to have Batman and Superman in the title somewhere. And so it's just gonna be the big. I think actually the original promo for the movie, it was gonna just be called Dawn of Justice.
That would make more sense.
Which
but
would have been great.
Batman versus Superman is a plot line. It's a DC plot line.
Yeah, it is.
Yes,
it's
it is.
Which is why they called it that.
Played out in a few different comics,
Yeah.
but I watched that extended version, and it's actually way better. Like it fixes so much.
Okay.
The third act is still dumb. Sorry.
I wonder if this
third
is gonna
act
be
is
good
still done with that movie.
I mean, Zack Snyder movies are generally pretty long.
This one's like 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, so I wonder if having that extra length is going to give us all the time that we need to watch it. Even 300 is like 2 hours long. That movie does not need to be that long. It's literally half naked dudes fighting
holding
other
the hot
half naked
gates.
dudes, holding the hot gates. It's keeping those gates warm, dude. So it's like, so I wonder if with all the extra screen time, we'll actually, which I hope we get a good movie.
Yeah, and judging by watching the extended cut, the Snyder cut of Dawn of Justice, it did fix so much, and it made me like that movie so much more. I have hope.
Okay. I'm intrigued. So next week, next Tuesday, 7:30 Central, 5:30 Pacific time, 6:30 Mountain time. If you're in New York, what did I say? New York?
Daniel.
New York?
Hello.
Never mind. All right, I'm done.
Daniel Waters.
All right, we need to stop this podcast. So catch us next Tuesday. We're gonna be doing Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut. It's on HBO Max. If you want to follow our Discord down below, you can get updates. You can follow us at WLT Podcast on Instagram to get updates there. And we will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. And then Bronx Tale, Liz, eventually, when my dad comes back. We're going to do it because I really want to do that. Good movie. So anyways, thanks for watching.